Hey, I'm back bringing you all the cozy warmth you need to survive this chilly Christmas. I've missed you so much. I swear I tried to post earlier, but my chaotic university life had other plans. Anyway, let's dive into today's video because the tea I'm serving is piping hot, and you're gonna want every drop.
Yo, wake up, besties. Why are you so noisy? It's 4 a.m. Let's clout chase today. Clout chase, what? Let's do the old TikTok trend. Call your crush. Or the one like kissing my best friend to get his reaction. Just say you wanna kiss Shinso. Yeah, for real, just kiss him. Don't mix us up with your ideas. You know what? I'm unfriending y'all. Sorry, we ain't even friends on Facebook. Then I'ma unfollow y'all on Instagram. I'm not following you back in the first place. You all are so mean. Ha 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 ha. At everyone go downstairs if you are hungry, I already cooked. What, it's too early though? Well, I've to wake up early. Some angry bird has been bugging me. Who? Mina. Ha 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 ha. She wakes up as soon as she smells tea. Kachan. OMG. What was he doing? He wants me to do a challenge because he beat me on chess. Ha 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 ha. Why you play with the chess god, Izuku? For real. Of course you'll lose. Ha 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 ha. I should have known that. What challenge? He said he wants me to do anything he tells me to for 24 hours. Whoa, seems like you'll be God's greatest soldier in the next 24 hours. Laugh my ass out, he's been always God's strongest soldier. The situation seems suspicious to me. What do you mean? Lol, I wanna know. Why'd he ask you to do everything that he wants? Not very mindful, not very demure. Laugh my ass out, y'all giving meaning to everything. It's giving delusions. Ha 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 ha. I think he just wants to punish me or make me miserable. LMAO, why don't we ask him? He deactivated his account. What? I never noticed that. Well, it's just, I was about to send him a message regarding the bed but I couldn't find his account. Oh, I thought you were stalking his account. No way, he never posted photos anyway, so why would I do that? Izuku, you said what? You were actually trying to stalk his account. Oh my god, Bakugo confirmed. Ha 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 ha. You guys, it's not like that. Bruh. Anyway, come downstairs. It's almost 6 a.m. Sir. The sun hadn't fully risen yet, casting a soft, golden light over the dorm kitchen. The quiet hum of early morning was slowly being overtaken by the chatter of students from Class 1A, who were gradually gathering for breakfast. Midoriya stood by the stove, his green hair slightly disheveled from sleep but his expression determined. He'd just plated up the last of the scrambled eggs, sausages, and toast when Bakugo strolled into the kitchen, looking smug. Oi, Deku, don't forget the coffee. I like it strong. None of that weak-ass stuff you drink. Alright, strong coffee. Coming up. As Bakugo sat down, Mina, Iida, Uraraka, Jiro, and Tsuyu entered one after the other, clearly prepared for what was about to unfold. They exchanged mischievous glances, barely containing their amusement. So, Midoriya, you're Bakugo's little servant today, huh? Yeah, just for today. Man, Bakugo's got you wrapped around his finger already. Tough break, Midoriya. It's only because I lost at chess. I'll win next time, in your dreams. Now get me more butter, nerd. Midoriya rushed to comply, grabbing a plate of butter and setting it in front of Bakugo, who gave him an expectant look. You really got him trained, Bakugo. Should we start calling him Bakugo's little chef? And no, it's not like that. Are you sure? Seems like it, Ribbit. This is quite the sight. Midoriya, I must commend you on keeping your word, but are you certain you'll survive the day under Bakugo's demands? Midoriya nervously laughed. Well, he'll survive. He's tougher than he looks, barely. Sounds like Bakugo's getting soft. Yeah, when did he start complimenting Deku? Bakugo glared. What did you say? I'm not complimenting him. Don't twist my words, Pinky. Midoriya arrived with a cup of hot coffee and an embarrassed expression. Here's your coffee, Kachan. Finally. Took you long enough. Mina, Jiro, and Uraraka all exchanged knowing looks as Midoriya awkwardly stood by, clearly awaiting more orders. You know, Midoriya, if you're doing everything Bakugo says, why don't you feed him? The room buzzed with energy, the playful banter like a series of quickfire explosions between Class 1A. Midoriya, standing near the toaster, felt the weight of everyone's eyes on him as if he were the sole actor in a chaotic improv scene. His hands shook slightly as he fumbled with the toast, and his ears burned as Bakugo's glare bore into him. Feed him. His voice cracked, a mix of disbelief and panic. It echoed in the stillness that followed, as though everyone collectively held their breath for Bakugo's reaction. Bakugo, who had been in the middle of a sip of coffee, almost choked. His hand slapped against the table as he set his mug down, glaring daggers at Mina. What the hell, Mina? I don't need him to feed me. His voice was sharp, but beneath it, there was a hint of something else, embarrassment, maybe. His cheeks darkened, the subtle flush of pink just barely noticeable to those who knew him well. Across the table, Uraraka giggled, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Oh, come on, you two have such a great dynamic going this morning. Why not go all the way? Her teasing smile grew wider as she saw the tension build. Bakugo shot her a warning glance, but she knew he wouldn't explode. Not yet, anyway. Jiro leaned forward, her voice low but dripping with amusement. Yeah, it's the ultimate power move. Bakugo, you could sit there and be weighted on hand and foot. The suggestion hung in the air like a live wire, and Bakugo's eyes twitched. He could already feel his control over the situation slipping. Suyu, with her usual calmness, chimed in, her eyes unblinking. It would be cute, ribbit. The deadpan delivery cut through the air, making the others snicker, and Midoriya's blush intensified until his face rivaled a tomato. His heart raced, and he waved his hands as if trying to fan away the awkwardness. And no, Ikachan doesn't need that. But Bakugo wasn't having it. His scowl deepened, and his voice dropped to a low growl. Damn right, I don't need any of this. His fiery gaze shifted to Midoriya, locking onto him with an intensity that made Midoriya freeze. And you better not try it, Izuku. Mina, giggling uncontrollably, leaned into Jiro as if they were sharing a private joke. Oh, you're both so flustered. This is hilarious. The comment did nothing to ease the tension, but it did encourage the others. Iida, always one to bring some semblance of order to the chaos, adjusted his glasses and nodded thoughtfully. While the teasing is in good fun, it is important to maintain dignity. However, the bonds of camaraderie often grow stronger through such trials. Uraraka, however, had no intention of letting up. She leaned in, elbowing Midoriya playfully. Dignity, have you seen Midoriya's face? There's no dignity left today. Her laughter was infectious, and soon the entire room was filled with the sound of it. Midoriya, now sweating profusely, looked to Uraraka with wide eyes, silently pleading for mercy. Uraraka-san, you're not helping. Oi, Izuku, make yourself useful and get me some more toast. And don't burn it this time. Yes, toast, right away. Behind him, the teasing continued unabated. Jiro leaned closer to Mina, her voice dropping to a whisper that carried just enough for everyone to hear. You think Bakugo's gonna ask him to polish his shoes next? Mina grinned, her eyes sparkling with amusement. Nah, I'm betting he'll make him carry him to class later. The image of Midoriya hoisting Bakugo over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes flashed in Midoriya's mind, and he nearly dropped the toast. I wouldn't carry him. Bakugo's sharp voice cut through the room like a knife. I heard that, Deku. You better be ready. Midoriya spun around, eyes wide in shock. Wait, are you serious? Uraraka leaned forward, practically cackling now. Deku-kun, don't look so scared. You've done worse in training. Exactly, just think of it as practice. Besides, Bakugo's your leader for the day. Midoriya swallowed hard, the weight of those words sinking in. His mind raced with every possible command Bakugo could throw at him. Meanwhile, Bakugo, standing tall with his arms crossed, looked like a predator who'd just cornered his prey. His lips curled into a wicked grin, full of promises that spelled doom for the poor green-haired boy. Damn right I am. His voice was laced with smug satisfaction, eyes gleaming with a cruel sense of humor. The look he shot Midoriya was enough to make the boy gulp, feeling the full pressure of being at Bakugo's mercy for the day. Iida, ever the voice of reason, cleared his throat, adjusting his glasses in a precise motion as he raised a hand to get everyone's attention. It's imperative that you handle this responsibly, Bakugo. We must uphold the spirit of fairness. Yeah, I'm not gonna kill him, probably. The word, probably, hung in the air, causing a collective shudder from the group. Midoriya gave a nervous laugh, scratching the back of his neck awkwardly. He wasn't sure if Bakugo was joking or not though. With him, it was usually safer to assume the worst. Thanks. Before anyone could respond, the door creaked open, and Zero strolled in, blissfully unaware of the storm he was walking into. He stopped short, immediately sensing the unusual intensity in the room. His eyes flickered from one smirking face to another before landing on Midoriya, who stood by the counter clutching a plate of toast like a lifeline. Did I miss something? Jiro was the first to break the silence, her grin wide and full of mischief as she crossed her arms over her chest. Oh, nothing, just Midoriya being Bakugo's personal assistant for the day. Zero's eyebrows shot up in surprise. He glanced at Midoriya's flushed face, then at Bakugo's smug expression, and back again. The realization hit him, and he couldn't help but snicker. Wait, really? Bakugo's sharp gaze zeroed in on Zero, his usual aggressive demeanor flaring up. He stepped forward, his voice a low growl. You got a problem with that, tape face? Zero threw his hands up in mock surrender, laughing as he shook his head. Nope, I just never thought I'd see the day. Midoriya let out a long, defeated sigh, staring down at the toast in his hands like it held the weight of his impending doom. It's just for today. Bakugo, hearing the resignation in his voice, chuckled darkly. His eyes gleamed with wicked satisfaction, clearly enjoying every second of Midoriya's discomfort. He leaned back, folding his arms across his chest, as if savoring his victory. And it's gonna be a long day. As Midoriya nervously shuffled back to the table with the toast, his heart pounded in his chest. He could feel the weight of his friend's eyes on him, their amusement practically radiating in waves. Every time he glanced up, he was met with knowing smirks and teasing glances. This was going to be one chaotic breakfast. Mina, ever the instigator, leaned in, her voice dripping with playful delight. You two are just adorable this morning. It's like breakfast and a show. The room erupted into laughter, but Bakugo and Midoriya turned their heads toward her at the same time, their expressions eerily in sync. Their voices overlapped in perfect unison, cutting through the noise with a sharp edge of frustration. Shut up. As the teasing continued, the rest of Class 1A trickled in, intrigued by the unusual tension filling the air. Kaminari and Kirishima were the next to arrive, and it didn't take long for them to pick up on the situation. Kirishima burst through the door with a hearty laugh, his voice loud and booming, immediately filling the room with his usual energy. What's going on? Why does it look like Bakugo's about to blow up, and Midoriya's running around like a headless chicken? His sharp eyes darted between Bakugo, who stood with his arms crossed, glaring at nothing in particular, and Midoriya, who was shuffling nervously, clutching a kitchen towel in one hand as if it might shield him from the chaos. Mina, leaning casually against the table, shot him a mischievous grin, her eyes gleaming with delight. Oh, didn't you hear? Midoriya lost a chess match, and now he has to do whatever Bakugo says for the whole day. Kaminari, who had just walked in behind Kirishima, stopped mid-step, his eyes widening in disbelief. A slow, almost devilish grin spread across his face as the realization dawned on him. No way, this is too good. Bakugo must be having the time of his life. You bet I am. It's really not that bad. I mean, it's just for today, and I. Before he could finish, Kirishima clapped a hand on his back, his usual enthusiasm spilling over as he offered Midoriya a supportive grin. Hang in there, bro. Just survive until tomorrow. Oh man, this is hilarious. What have you made him do so far? Bakugo, looking far too pleased with himself, raised his hand and started counting off tasks on his fingers. Cook breakfast, get me coffee, and bring me toast. Basic stuff, but the day's just started. We were this close to getting Midoriya to feed him. Kaminari snickered, his grin stretching even wider at the thought. He wiped a tear from his eye, barely holding it together. You guys should definitely push for that. I'd pay to see it. Midoriya, his face now a full shade of red, waved his hands in front of him, panic rising in his voice. Please don't. I don't need Izuku feeding me. I can handle my own damn food. At that moment, the door swung open once more, and Todoroki stepped in, his usual calm demeanor unshaken by the madness around him. His heterochromatic eyes briefly flickered with curiosity as he took in the scene, pausing to glance at the flustered Midoriya and the smug Bakugo. What's going on here? Jiro, lounging against the wall with her arms crossed, smirked at Todoroki's question. Bakugo's got Midoriya doing his bidding for the day because he lost a chess match. They're the morning entertainment. Todoroki blinked, his head tilting slightly as he processed the information. His face remained expressionless, but there was a subtle hint of amusement in his voice. Sounds amusing. So, Midoriya, What's next on the list of commands? I don't know yet. Bakugo's grin grew wicked, a dark promise lurking in his expression as he spoke. Oh, I've got plenty planned for him. Just you wait. I wonder what you'll make him do after breakfast, Bakugo. Something more physical, maybe. Yeah, like laundry duty, or making him clean the dorms. He's already got him cooking, after all. Midoriya laughed nervously, his eyes wide with dread as he glanced around at his classmates. Please, no more chores. Bakugo crossed his arms, his smirk never fading. I could think of a few things that'll keep him busy. Gotta make sure he's earning his keep. The room erupted into laughter again, but Midoriya's nervous laugh was drowned out as he felt the weight of his friend's teasing settle in for the long day ahead. Bakugo, let's not take advantage of the situation. It's a challenge, not a day of servitude. Bakugo, lounging back in his chair with an indifferent expression, barely glanced at Iida. A dismissive shrug rolled off his shoulders as he lazily waved a hand in Iida's direction. Whatever you say, Four Eyes. I'm just making sure Deku knows how to follow through. Kirishima, never one to pass up an opportunity for some friendly teasing, nudged Bakugo in the ribs with his elbow, a wide grin stretching across his face. His eyes sparkled with mischief. You sure you don't want to make him carry you around like some kind of king? That'd be pretty manly of you, right? Bakugo snorted, a low, amused sound, as he shot Kirishima a sharp glance. I don't need Deku to carry me anywhere. I can walk just fine, you idiot. Midoriya, who had been quietly tending to Bakugo's next request, mumbled under his breath, trying to stay out of the spotlight. His cheeks turned slightly pink as he fiddled with the edges of his apron. I'd rather carry someone else, to be honest. Jiro, always quick to catch the slightest slip-up, perked up immediately. A sly smirk spread across her face as she raised an eyebrow at Midoriya. You mean Todoroki? Laughter exploded around the table, filling the air with the sound of amused jeers and teasing comments. Midoriya's face went from pink to a deep crimson in an instant, and he raised his hands in a flustered attempt to quell the commotion. Meanwhile, Todoroki, ever composed, glanced over from his spot, his gaze cool and curious. I'm fine walking myself, but thanks for the offer. Bakugo's eyes flared with irritation as he slammed a fist down on the table, the loud thud silencing the group for just a moment. Don't get any ideas, half and half. This is my day. Whoa, Bakugo, are you jealous? Does Midoriya carrying Todoroki bother you? Bakugo's face twisted into a snarl as he shot Kaminari a look sharp enough to cut through steel. His fist clenched on the table, and his voice rose with barely contained frustration. Shut up, dunce face. I'm not jealous. Mina leaned closer to Jiro, whispering just loud enough for everyone to hear as she grinned conspiratorially. He totally is. Jiro gave a knowing nod, stifling her laughter as she glanced at Bakugo's tense expression. Oh yeah, this is gold. Midoriya, still wildly flustered, waved his arms frantically, his eyes darting between Bakugo and the rest of the group in a desperate attempt to defuse the situation. And no, it's not like that. I'm not carrying anyone, I'm just... Before he could finish, Bakugo's sharp voice cut him off, his tone cold and demanding. Deku, my eggs are cold, get me some new ones. Now, with a defeated sigh, Midoriya shuffled back to the stove, his shoulders sagging under the weight of his duties. Right away, Siro, seated at the edge of the table, chuckled as he watched Midoriya's hasty retreat. Man, I've never seen Bakugo this smug. This is a rare treat. It's not often that Midoriya looks this flustered either. Quite an interesting morning. Yeah, I don't think we've had this much fun before breakfast in a while. Kaminari, always eager to escalate the chaos, perked up with an idea, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Hey, what if we made this a regular thing? Loser of any challenge has to be the winner's servant for the day. Mina clapped her hands together, her laughter bubbling up as she eagerly nodded in agreement. Oh, I like that idea. Think about the chaos we could cause. Suyu's voice joined in, soft but mischievous, as she ribbited lightly. I wouldn't mind seeing Bakugo lose for once, ribbit. Bakugo's glare turned on Suyu, his eyes narrowing as he spoke through gritted teeth. That's not gonna happen, Froggy. Kirishima leaned forward, his grin widening as he nudged Bakugo again. Come on, Bakugo, you've gotta lose sometime. No one wins forever. Bakugo's lips curled into a dangerous grin, his competitive spirit flaring to life. Wanna bet? Iida, still clinging to some sense of decorum, raised a hand in protest. Let's not encourage gambling in the dorms. That would be highly inappropriate. Jiro rolled her eyes, stifling a laugh as she jabbed playfully at Iida's overly serious attitude. Leave it to Iida to be the fun police. It's not about policing fun. It's about maintaining order. Uraraka giggled, shooting Iida a teasing look. Yeah, right, Iida, you were totally laughing a minute ago. Just then, Midoriya returned with a fresh plate of eggs, holding it out with a resigned look on his face. Here are your eggs, Kachan. Bakugo examined the plate with a scrutinizing eye before huffing in approval. Took you long enough. Next time, be faster. Midoriya sighed again, but before he could respond, the door swung open, and Shinso casually strolled in, his hands in his pockets. He surveyed the scene with his usual laid-back expression, though his eyes sparkled with mild curiosity. What's going on here? Mina perked up, eager to fill him in on the morning's drama. Midoriya's Bakugo's personal servant today. It's like a soap opera in here. Shinso raised an eyebrow, his lips quirking up in a lazy smirk as he took in the chaos. Interesting. Sounds like I came at the right time. Bakugo grumbled, his voice low as he directed his attention back to Midoriya. Less talking, more working, Deku. You're slacking. Kaminari burst into laughter, clutching his sides. Oh man, this is great. I wish I had popcorn. If you're lucky, Bakugo might make Midoriya make some for you. Oh, yeah, Midoriya, get on that. Midoriya opened his mouth to protest, but Bakugo quickly cut him off, his tone sharp and impatient. No, I'm not wasting time on popcorn. We've got training later. Kirishima suddenly sat up straighter, his face lighting up as he remembered. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that. You think Midoriya will survive your training after this? Bakugo's wicked grin returned, his voice dripping with malicious glee. He better, otherwise, he'll be doing extra work tonight. Midoriya let out an exasperated groan, throwing his hands up in defeat. Extra work, what else can I do? Uraraka giggled, leaning closer with a teasing grin. Oh, I can think of a few things. Maybe give Bakugo a back massage after a long day. Or you could be his personal cheerleader during training. That'd be a sight. Or maybe a different type of massage. Dude, nah, we falling deep in the black hole again with this one. Not very demure, not very mindful. Midoriya's face fell into his hands, his voice muffled by his palms. Why did I agree to this? In the classroom, where is Bakugo and Midoriya? I have a task for them. I think they went outside to get some drink, sir. Together. That's new. I know, right? Ha ha ha, they must be having a nice date right now. What did you say? Uraraka elbowed Mina and whispered something while keeping her smile intact. I told you to shut up, girl. How are we supposed to make an excuse for them now? Did they skip class? No, sir. They're just going to buy a drink for the whole class. Whole class? What in the world are those two doing? Could you tell them to come back here as soon as possible? Mina pretended to call them. Oh my god, sir, I can't reach them. Aizawa just sighed in resignation as he started the class without the two. Okay, fine. Tell them to see me in the office after class. Those idiots were really aiming for detention. Oh, no, prepare yourselves. We're going to the training grounds in a minute. Yes, sir. In Midoriya and Bakugo's location. As they continued walking, Midoriya's nervous voice broke the silence again. Kachan, are we seriously just wandering around? Hey, I told you to shut up, didn't I? Bakugo shot back, sparing him an annoyed glare. This was your idea in the first place, dumbass. Don't blame me if you're getting cold feet now. Midoriya huffed, trying to keep up. It's not like I thought you'd take this seriously. I mean, I only lost one match. One match is all it takes. Bakugo interrupted, looking back at him with a smirk. For the next 24 hours, you do whatever I say. Those were the rules, Deku. Midoriya opened his mouth to protest but was quickly interrupted by a loud noise in the distance. His eyes widened as he turned his head toward the sound, his muscles tensing up. Kachan, did you hear that? Bakugo had already frozen, his senses alert. Stay behind me, he muttered, his voice suddenly serious. The playful bickering was gone, replaced by the calculating focus of a hero. Before Midoriya could respond, a figure stepped out from the shadows, a cold, unsettling grin spreading across his face. The villain's presence was heavy, his aura radiating malice. Well, two top students of UA wandering around unsupervised. Lucky day for me. Bakugo clenched his fists, his palms sparking with explosions. Lucky day for you. More like a death wish. He stepped protectively in front of Midoriya. I'm only gonna say this once, back off. Midoriya, although wanting to jump in, could feel the intensity radiating off of Bakugo. He knew better than to interfere with Bakugo in this state. His face flushed as he realized just how fiercely Kacchan was defending him. Ah, isn't that sweet? You two look so close. Maybe I'll have to break you both. Like hell you will. Bakugo snapped, launching himself toward the villain with a powerful explosion. The force of his attack threw Midoriya slightly off balance, but he quickly regained his stance, his eyes glued to the intense clash in front of him. The villain dodged, but barely, and Bakugo immediately went in for another strike, his movements precise and fierce. It was like he was holding nothing back, fighting with a ferocity that only seemed to grow when he glanced back at Midoriya, checking that he was safe. In a rare quiet moment, while the villain tried to catch his breath, Midoriya locked eyes with Bakugo. Kacchan, you didn't have to do that. I can fight, too. Not on my watch, Deku. He muttered, his voice thick with an intensity that sent a shiver down Midoriya's spine. You're my problem to protect right now. Got that? Midoriya's cheeks flushed, and he managed a nod. Yeah, got it. Before he could say anything else, Bakugo was launching another attack, determined to end this fight quickly. After a few more well-placed blasts, the villain was knocked out, slumping to the ground. Once they were sure the villain was down, they both took a few steps back, breathing heavily. Midoriya looked up, finding Bakugo's gaze on him again. The anger was gone, but something else burned in Bakugo's eyes, an intensity that made Midoriya's heart race. I said I'd make you do whatever I want, right? Bakugo's voice was low, his smirk returning as he stepped closer. Well, for now, you're gonna stay right here. With me. Midoriya gulped, feeling the heat radiating between them as he looked up at Bakugo, his face flushed. He could feel Bakugo's intense gaze, making his own heartbeat quicken. Fine, Midoriya whispered, feeling a smile tugging at his lips. Guess I don't have a choice, do I, Kacchan? Bakugo leaned in just slightly, close enough for Midoriya to feel his breath. Damn right, you don't. The sun was high, casting warm light through the trees as Bakugo and Midoriya stood in the quiet, the daylight making the tension between them somehow feel even more exposed. With the villain already defeated and no immediate threat in sight, the quiet felt even more intense. Bakugo still held Midoriya's wrist, his grip firm, and the sunlight caught in his eyes as he smirked down at him. You're actually letting me win for once, huh? He teased, his voice carrying a low, challenging note. Midoriya felt his cheeks heating under the brightness of the day, the flush impossible to hide. Maybe I just don't mind losing to you right now, he said, his voice a little steadier than before, but his gaze flickering down to where Bakugo's hand held him. Bakugo's smirk softened, his eyes narrowing slightly, as though considering Midoriya's words more deeply than either of them had intended. You're really something else, Deku. His fingers sliding from Midoriya's wrist to his forearm, sending a shiver down Midoriya's spine despite the warmth of the day. Midoriya swallowed, trying to steady his heartbeat. Kacchan, maybe we should. Should what? Bakugo stepping even closer, his voice dropping. His thumb brushed lightly over Midoriya's pulse, and he could feel it racing. Finish what you were saying. But Midoriya couldn't find the words. His eyes met Bakugo's, feeling the warmth of his hand and the intensity of his gaze. I don't think I have anything else to say. Bakugo's smirk turned into something softer, a quiet confidence in his eyes. Good. He held Midoriya's gaze, the air between them thick even in broad daylight, the warmth of Bakugo's touch lingering as they stood. The silence hung between them, each trying to process the tension in their own way, when Midoriya suddenly broke it, his voice softer but genuine. Kacchan. Midoriya started, rubbing the back of his neck with his free hand, glancing away briefly. Are you going to join the others in Mina's room later? She invited everyone to play, you know, those silly card games she loves. He chuckled nervously. Truth or dare, weird confessions, all that stuff she somehow ropes us into. Bakugo raised an eyebrow, smirking at Midoriya's nervousness. What, you're looking forward to it, Deku? He asked, letting his grip on Midoriya's arm loosen but keeping his hand on him, his touch lingering. Last time we played, you were a stuttering mess. Midoriya felt his cheeks heat up at the memory. He hadn't realized he'd revealed so much that night, not until he saw everyone's shocked faces and Mina's gleeful grin. It was embarrassing, sure, but it was fun, he admitted, glancing up at Bakugo. And it's It's nice to see everyone in a more relaxed setting. Bakugo scoffed, crossing his arms but keeping one foot planted close to Midoriya. Relaxed? They make you admit a bunch of stuff in front of everyone, and you call that relaxed? His eyes narrowed, though not unkindly. Sounds like torture to me. Then why do you always show up? Midoriya challenged, looking up with a slight smile, almost playful. You act like you hate it, but you're always there. Just as much as the rest of us. Bakugo's eyes flickered with something unspoken, and his lips twitched into a smirk. Maybe I just like watching everyone else make idiots of themselves. Especially you. Midoriya flushed, his eyes wide. Oh, is that right? He laughed softly, shaking his head. Well, maybe I'll surprise you this time, Kachan. Maybe you should be the one to watch out. Bakugo raised an eyebrow, clearly entertained. Is that so? Maybe I'll go just to see you try. He leaned in closer, his voice low, almost a whisper. Better be ready if you're gonna call me out like that. Midoriya felt his pulse spike, Bakugo's gaze holding his with such intensity that he nearly forgot to breathe. He swallowed, trying to play it off as casually as he could. Well, if you're not scared to play a little truth or dare, I'll see you there. He said, offering a small, challenging smile of his own. Who knows, Kachan, maybe you'll even enjoy yourself. Bakugo chuckled, shaking his head. You're on, Deku. He said, his voice full of a quiet promise. But don't think I'm going easy on you just 'cause you've suddenly decided to grow a spine. Oi, lovebirds, thought I'd find you mid-hand holding or something. Kaminari, what the hell are you doing here? What am I doing? Bro, Aizawa-sensei nearly buried the whole class alive because you two idiots ghosted us. Oh, crap, yeah, no kidding. Let's hurry back before he decides to invent a punishment worse than death. Too late, I think you're already living it. Just shut the F up, you idiots. Kaminari grinned, barely suppressing a laugh as he eyed the two of them. You know, maybe just skip the drama and go on a date this weekend or something. Shut up and stop with your stupid shippy crap. Can't help it. By the time Midoriya, Bakugo, and Kaminari made it back to UA, the sun had begun its descent, casting golden hues across the campus. The trio entered the classroom, greeted by the buzz of their classmates, all gathered in varying states of energy and mischief. Finally, you guys are late, Mina exclaimed, bounding over with her usual enthusiasm. Aizawa-sensei almost had us running laps for your sake. Midoriya scratched the back of his neck nervously. So sorry about that. Something came up. Something? Mina asked, raising an eyebrow as she glanced between him and Bakugo. Her eyes twinkled mischievously, sensing something unspoken. Wait, were you two on a date? The hell we were, Bakugo roared, his voice shaking the desks. Mina jumped back, laughing. Relax, Bakugo, geez, you're so defensive. She winked at Kaminari, who was already grinning ear to ear. Yeah, Bakugo, Kaminari chimed in, throwing an arm around Midoriya's shoulders. It's okay to admit it. Look at poor Midoriya, his face is as red as Kirishima's hair. Midoriya flailed slightly, trying to extricate himself from Kaminari's grip. It wasn't anything like that. We just ran into a villain, that's all. A villain? Todoroki's calm voice cut through the chatter as he approached. His eyes scanned them, landing on Bakugo's singed sleeves. And you handled it without alerting any of us or calling for backup. It was nothing. Bakugo brushing past Todoroki to take his seat. The bastard didn't even put up a fight. I had it handled. Midoriya nodded quickly. Kachan was amazing, though. Shut it, Deku. Bakugo interrupted, glaring at him. I don't need you singing my damn praises. The class broke into laughter at Bakugo's obvious discomfort, but Kirishima stepped in, clapping a hand on Bakugo's shoulder. Ah, come on, bro. It's okay to let him hype you up a little. You did save him, right? Bakugo shoved Kirishima's hand off, grumbling as he slumped into his chair. Whatever. Anyway, Mina declared, clapping her hands. We're definitely playing truth or dare tonight, and both of you are coming. Hard pass. Bakugo shot back without looking up. Ah, don't be like that, Bakugo. Kaminari teased, leaning on Bakugo's desk. You know you secretly love it. Get off my desk before I blow you to pieces, dunce face. Kaminari yelped and backed away, but his grin didn't fade. Midoriya shuffled to his seat, trying to shrink into the background as the rest of the class continued their playful teasing. He glanced sideways at Bakugo, who was staring out the window, a faint scowl on his face. As the classroom began to settle, Aizawa-sensei strode in, his usual tired expression somehow more intense than usual. "You're all too loud," he muttered, tugging his sleeping bag behind him. "In Bakugo, Midoriya, next time you encounter a villain, call for backup instead of handling it yourselves. You're not pros yet." "Yes, sir." Yeah. Aizawa gave them a pointed look before sighing and slumping into his sleeping bag. "If you're done nearly getting yourselves killed, sit down and shut up. Class is starting." The students quickly found their seats, the earlier teasing replaced by a quiet buzz of curiosity. Despite Aizawa's presence, Mina scribbled something on a piece of paper and passed it to Midoriya. So, was Bakugo super protective? Like, more than usual? Midoriya's face turned crimson as he hastily shoved the note into his bag, refusing to acknowledge her mischievous smirk. From his seat, Bakugo glared daggers at the both of them, clearly aware of the exchange. The rest of the day passed without incident, but the lingering tension from their earlier encounter stayed with them. As the final bell rang and the class began packing up, Mina's voice rang out. "Okay, truth or dare tonight. My room, no excuses." Midoriya gulped, stealing a glance at Bakugo, who was already heading for the door. Despite his grumbling, there was no denying that he'd be there if only to make sure nobody teased him too much. The evening carried an undeniable tension for Midoriya. Ever since the morning's outing with Bakugo, Mina had been relentless in her teasing, her playful remarks keeping him on edge. Even surrounded by his friends in the cozy common room, where the smell of popcorn lingered and the hum of a light-hearted movie filled the air, Midoriya couldn't seem to relax. Todoroki, ever observant in his calm way, approached Midoriya with a chilled lemonade in hand. The glass gleamed in the soft light as he handed it over. "Are you all right, Midoriya?" His voice level but tinged with curiosity. Midoriya jolted slightly, gripping the lemonade with both hands as if anchoring himself. Yeah, of course. Why do you ask? I'm totally fine," he blurted out, his words coming a little too fast to be convincing. "Well, you've been spacing out since the movie started. You didn't even laugh at the main character's joke. It was surprisingly funny, you know." Midoriya blinked, his grip on the glass tightening as his cheeks flushed. "Ha ha ha, really? That's the first time I've seen you enjoy a comedy. I feel bad I wasn't paying attention." Before Todoroki could respond, Mina appeared seemingly out of nowhere, her presence as lively and unpredictable as ever. With a mischievous grin, she leaned closer, her elbow brushing against Midoriya's ribs just enough to make him flinch. "You're with another man. Oh my god, Deku. How many are on your roster?" Midoriya sputtered, his face going from a faint pink to a deep crimson in an instant. Mina, it's not like that. I wasn't. Todoroki wasn't." Todoroki tilted his head slightly, taking a casual sip of his lemonade. "I don't really understand what she's implying, but if it makes you uncomfortable, you should say so, Midoriya." This only made Mina grin wider, her mischievous energy practically radiating off her. "Oh, Todoroki, you're so sweet, but that's not what this is about. You see, Deku's been acting all weird and dreamy ever since this morning. And guess who he was with? Bakugo." Midoriya buried his face in his hands, groaning. "Why do you keep bringing this up?" "Because it's adorable," Mina practically squealed, earning curious glances from a few classmates scattered around the room. "Come on, Deku, spill the tea. What happened between you two? Did he," she gasped dramatically, leaning in close, "hold your hand?" Midoriya nearly toppled over from the intensity of her energy. "Mina, and no, he didn't. I mean, well, not like that. It was just there was a villain, and Kachan, he just. You're so easy to rile up, Deku." Bakugo's voice cut through the room like a sharp blade. Everyone turned to see Bakugo leaning casually against the doorframe, his expression a mix of annoyance and faint amusement. His crimson eyes flicked to Mina. "And you, raccoon eyes, need to shut the hell up before I make you." "Oh, Kachan," Mina said with a cheeky grin, unbothered by his threat. "I was just asking about your little date with Deku this morning." Bakugo's eyebrow twitched, his irritation palpable. "It wasn't a damn date, idiot. We ran into some villain trash, and I handled it. End of story." "Handled it like a true knight in shining armor, huh?" Kaminari teased from across the room, earning a chuckle from Kirishima. "More like a dragon, ha 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 ha," Kirishima added, nudging Kaminari. "You're all insufferable idiots." Bakugo stepped further into the room. His gaze landed on Midoriya, who was practically shrinking into his seat. "And you, Stop looking like you're about to pass out. It's pathetic. Midoriya looked up, a mix of embarrassment and frustration flashing in his green eyes. I'm not. You're just what? Deku. Bakugo challenged, his voice low and dangerous, but there was a glimmer of something playful in his smirk. Midoriya opened his mouth to reply but was saved or perhaps doomed by Mina clapping her hands together. Alright, enough tension, it's time for truth or dare, everyone. The room collectively groaned and cheered in equal measure, but no one dared to outright refuse Mina's enthusiasm. Truth or dare, Kachan? Mina asked, singling Bakugo out almost immediately as everyone settled into a circle. Bakugo scoffed, crossing his arms. Dare, obviously, I'm not some coward. Mina's eyes sparkled. Okay, I dare you to say one nice thing about Deku. The room erupted in laughter and gasps, and Bakugo's face turned several shades darker. He glared daggers at Mina, who only grinned wider. You're really pushing your luck. Come on, Kachan, Midoriya said nervously, waving his hands. You don't have to. No, a dare's a dare. Bakugo huffed, his jaw tightening as he avoided everyone's gaze. After a painfully long pause, he muttered under his breath, he's not the worst at chess. The group erupted into laughter again, and even Midoriya couldn't help but smile. Ah, Kachan, was that so hard? Mina's voice was dripping with mock sweetness as she leaned forward with a sly grin. The glint in her eye was met with an immediate, fiery death glare from Bakugo. Shut it, raccoon eyes. Bakugo snapped, his tone sharp enough to cut through steel, though it only fueled Mina's laughter. Ha 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 ha, that didn't even sound like you were trying to compliment him. Kirishima clutching his stomach as he doubled over in laughter. Midoriya, ever the peacemaker, decided to join the fun. I know, I'm the worst at chess, Kachan. He clutched his chest dramatically as if Bakugo's previous comment had wounded him deeply. Bakugo's lips curled into a smug grin, his crimson eyes gleaming with satisfaction. You're aware, he said simply, his tone dripping with mock arrogance. The room erupted into laughter again, Kirishima nearly falling off his chair. Ha 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 ha, oh, man, you two are killing me. Midoriya laughed along, scratching the back of his head as his cheeks flushed. Even Bakugo's irritation seemed to soften. As the laughter settled, Mina clapped her hands together, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Alright, truth or dare time. Everyone knows the rules. No backing out, no whining, and if you don't do the dare, you have to do two instead. Got it, the group groaned in playful protest, but no one backed out. Mina grinned triumphantly and spun the bottle in the center of the circle. It twirled for a few seconds before landing on Kirishima. Yes, bring it on, Kirishima declared, pumping his fist into the air. Truth or dare, Kirishima? Dare, obviously. Mina tapped her chin dramatically before her grin widened. Alright, I dare you to take off your shirt and do 10 push-ups while confessing your love to your favorite dessert. He's gonna confess to Mineta the grapes for sure. Ha 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 ha, Kirineta confirmed. Look at Kirishima's face. Ha 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 ha. He looks like he's gonna puke for real. It's giving grape jam on hard cookies. Ha 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 ha. Most disgusting food combination. Do it, Kirishima. Do it, do it, do it. No problem, let's do this. He quickly pulled off his shirt, revealing his chiseled physique, and dropped to the floor. Cookies, I love you. Ha 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 ha, I'm deadass. He shouted between push-ups, his voice full of over-the-top emotion. You're so crunchy, so sweet. I'd eat you every day if I could. By the time he finished, the group was in tears from laughing so hard. Kaminari clapped him on the back as he returned to his spot. Man, that was beautiful, bro. Truly moving. His love for the cookies is stronger than Kim and Kanye's relationship. The bottle spun again, this time landing on Kaminari. Bring it, Kaminari said, puffing out his chest confidently. Kaminari, truth or dare? Dare, of course. Mina's grin grew even wider. Okay, I dare you to prank call Aizawa-sensei and convince him you're quitting UA because you've decided to become a professional karaoke singer. Kaminari's confidence faltered slightly, but he laughed nervously. Oh, come on, that's brutal. You picked dare, Mina sang, holding up her phone. Here, use mine. Go on. Everyone quieted as Kaminari reluctantly took the phone and dialed Aizawa's number. When the gruff voice answered, Kaminari put on his most dramatic tone. Sensei, I just wanted to let you know I'm dropping out of UA. He began, biting his lip to keep from laughing. I've decided to follow my true calling, karaoke. My voice is just too powerful to keep hidden. There was a long silence on the other end before Aizawa sighed audibly. Kaminari, don't waste my time. Sensei, the line clicked, and everyone exploded into laughter as Kaminari slumped back into his seat, rubbing the back of his neck. Man, he didn't even let me finish. You tried your best. Midoriya tried to keep a straight face. The bottle spun again, landing on Todoroki. Todoroki, truth or dare? Todoroki tilted his head slightly, his expression unreadable. Dare. Mina paused, clearly surprised. She had been expecting a truth. After a moment, her grin turned devilish. All right, I dare you to eat this spoonful of hot sauce without using your quirk. Todoroki raised an eyebrow but didn't hesitate. All right. As Mina handed him the spoon, everyone leaned in with anticipation. Todoroki calmly took the spoon, his expression unchanged as he swallowed the hot sauce in one swift motion. For a moment, there was silence as everyone waited for his reaction. Then his eyes widened slightly, and he coughed, fanning his mouth. That is quite intense. The group burst into laughter, and Todoroki managed a small smile as he took a sip of water that someone handed him. Man, I was not expecting that. Todoroki, you're awesome. As the night stretched into the early hours, the group was still sprawled across Mina's room, surrounded by snacks, empty soda bottles, and a heap of discarded truth or dare prompts. The energy had mellowed slightly, with some of them lying on their backs while others leaned against furniture, chatting and laughing softly. Man, this was fun. Kaminari stretched his arms over his head with a yawn. I can't believe we've been at it for hours. So, since it's already super late, and Aizawa-sensei would murder us for sneaking around the dorms right now, what if we just stayed here? You mean, like, all of us? Sleepover style. Why not? Mina's smile widening. We've already taken over my room anyway. Plus, it's way more fun than going back to our boring rooms. The group exchanged glances, and after a beat, Todoroki shrugged. I don't see the harm in it. Yeah, Kaminari already grabbing a pillow from Mina's bed and tossing it onto the floor. We can keep the good vibes going. Maybe even play more games. As they settled into the idea, Mina's mischievous grin returned. Speaking of games, how about we make this night even more interesting? Midoriya, who had been adjusting his spot near the wall, blinked nervously. What do you mean, Mina? She reached under her bed and pulled out a small bottle, its label gleaming under the soft light of the room. Ta-da, I may have, borrowed this from my parents' cabinet last time I visited home. Kirishima's eyes widened. Wait, is that alcohol? Yep, nothing too crazy, just something to spice up the night. We're all old enough to try it, right? And it's not like we're going anywhere. I don't know. Midoriya scratched the back of his neck. We've never done anything like this before. Exactly. Kaminari scoots closer to the bottle. That's why it's perfect. A little sip won't hurt, right? Bakugo, who had been quietly observing from his spot near the window, snorted. You idiots can barely handle soda. You think you can handle booze? Come on, dude, what? Scared you'll get all sentimental on us after one drink? Bakugo scowled. TCH. Fine. Pour me a damn glass. The others gasped dramatically, and Mina giggled. That's the spirit. She grabbed a few cups, filling them halfway with the amber liquid. Okay, but just a little. Todoroki took a cup and inspecting it curiously. They all sat in a loose circle, each holding their cups cautiously. Mina raised hers first. All right, to a night we'll never forget. Cheers, cheers. The others echoed, clinking their cups together before taking hesitant sips. Midoriya's eyes watered as the strong taste hit his tongue. Wow, that's really strong. Man, this burns. Todoroki, to everyone's surprise, drank it without flinching, though his expression was contemplative. It's different, not bad. Kaminari grimaced, fanning his mouth. How do adults drink this all the time? Ha 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 ha, you guys are hilarious. It's not even that bad. As they got used to the taste, the atmosphere in the room grew warmer, their laughter louder and more carefree. They passed the bottle around, each daring one another to take slightly larger sips. Bakugo, who had been quiet most of the time, suddenly leaned back with a rare smirk on his face. You know, this is probably the dumbest thing we've ever done. But not the worst night. Coming from you, that's basically a love confession. Kaminari teased, earning a half-hearted shove from Bakugo. The warm, buzzing atmosphere in Mina's room took on a different tone as the alcohol began to work its way into their systems. What had started as boisterous laughter and teasing was now soft chuckles and comfortable silences, the kind of mood that let unspoken feelings bubble to the surface. Kaminari, who had been lying on his stomach with his chin propped in his hands, suddenly sniffled. Mina glanced over, mid-sip, her brow furrowing. Denki, you good?" Kaminari sat up, his face flushed not entirely from the drink. His eyes shimmered, and he sniffled again, rubbing at them with the sleeve of his shirt. "Yeah, I'm fine, it's just, I love you guys so much, you know." There was a collective pause, then a wave of chuckles. "Dude," Kirishima was trying hard to hide his own grin. "You're really feeling it, huh?" "No, I mean it." Kaminari's voice cracked slightly, and he gestured broadly at the group. "You're all just so awesome. Like, Mina, you're always so fun and confident, and Kirishima, you're the nicest dude ever. And Shiro, you're cool without even trying. And Todoroki," he turned to Todoroki, who blinked in mild surprise, holding his cup delicately. "You're like, the quiet guy, but in a mysterious, charming way, and I think everyone looks up to you even if they don't say it." Todoroki tilted his head, considering the words. "Thank you, Kaminari," he said simply, though there was a faint smile tugging at the corner of his lips. Kaminari wiped his face dramatically, letting out a shaky laugh. I'm such a mess. Why am I crying?" Mina scooted over, wrapping an arm around him. "Because you're drunk, idiot. But we love you too." Meanwhile, Shiro had shifted from his spot near the edge of the group and was now sitting noticeably closer to Todoroki. He was smiling, but there was a certain softness to his gaze that hadn't been there earlier. "You know," Shiro began, leaning slightly toward Todoroki, "Kaminari's not wrong. You're pretty cool, Todoroki. Like, I've always thought so, but, I dunno, you've got this way of being calm even when everything's chaotic. It's nice." Todoroki turned to him, his dual-colored eyes reflecting the dim light of the room. "Thank you, Shiro. That's kind of you to say." There was a beat of silence between them, the kind that seemed to stretch and deepen in the alcohol-soaked haze. Shiro rubbed the back of his neck, his usual carefree demeanor replaced with something a little more uncertain. "I mean it," Shiro said, his voice quieter now. "You're someone I really respect. And, I guess I don't say stuff like that enough." Todoroki regarded him for a moment before nodding. "I appreciate it, and I respect you too, Shiro. You're dependable, and funny." Shiro chuckled, his cheeks visibly reddening. "Hey, thanks, that means a lot, man." Across the room, Midoriya and Kirishima exchanged amused glances, though neither said anything. Bakugo, however, muttered something under his breath about, "idiots getting sappy," though he didn't make a move to interrupt. Mina, ever the orchestrator of chaos, caught the exchange between Shiro and Todoroki and smirked knowingly. She decided, for once, to let the moment unfold naturally. As the night wore on, the emotional weight in the room mingled with their fading energy. Kaminari eventually dozed off, his face buried in a pillow, while Mina sprawled out beside him, humming softly. Kirishima was still awake, chatting quietly with Midoriya about random memories from their time at UA. Shiro and Todoroki, now sitting shoulder to shoulder, continued their conversation in hushed tones, their words too soft for the others to hear. It was a rare, unguarded moment, the kind that lingered even as the rest of the group began to drift off into sleep. The night was quiet and still, the chill of the air cutting through the faint haze in Deku's mind as he wandered through the courtyard. The alcohol's effects were still present, making his steps uneven and his thoughts an unsteady swirl. "I just need to clear my head." His thoughts were abruptly interrupted by a sharp voice that cut through the stillness. "Deku." Midoriya froze, his blood running cold as he turned toward the source of the voice. A familiar figure stormed toward him, his hair wild, his eyes blazing with frustration and something deeper panic, maybe. "Keikaku-chan, the hell are you doing out here?" Bakugo grabbed him roughly by the arm. "Do you have a damn death wish, you idiot?" I just needed some air." Midoriya tried to pull his arm free. "I couldn't stay in there. And you thought this was a better idea?" Bakugo's grip tightened. "You're drunk, Deku. Do you even realize how much trouble you're gonna get us into if someone finds you like this?" "Let me go, Kachan. You're not my boss." Bakugo's lips curled into a dangerous smirk, his crimson eyes narrowing as he stepped closer, their faces mere inches apart. "Oh, really? Did you forget who won that stupid dare this morning?" His voice was low, dripping with mockery. I've got you on a 24-hour leash, nerd. And it hasn't even been a full day yet. Midoriya's cheeks flushed, a mix of embarrassment, indignation, and something else that made his breath hitch. That's not. Shut up. Bakugo's voice was soft but commanding. His hand slipped from Deku's arm to his wrist, his grip firm but no longer rough. You don't get to argue with me right now. You're coming back, and you're doing it quietly. Got it? For a moment, Midoriya hesitated, his wide green eyes locking with Bakugo's. There was something in the air between them, something that made Midoriya's heart race and his knees feel weak. Fine, he reluctantly lets Bakugo guide him back toward the dorms. By the time they reached the entrance, the building was silent. The common area was dark, the only light coming from the faint glow of the moon through the windows. Bakugo pushed the door open cautiously, his other hand still gripping Deku's wrist as if letting go might mean losing him again. See, no one's awake. Lucky for you, idiot. Midoriya didn't respond, his gaze fixed on the floor as they made their way down the hallway. The tension between them hung heavy in the air, unspoken words lingering in every shared glance and fleeting touch. When they reached Mina's room, Bakugo paused, turning to face Midoriya fully. In the dim light, his expression was softer, though his voice remained sharp. You're not pulling this kind of crap again. Got it? If you want to clear your head, do it in the damn room next time. You scared the hell out of everyone. Midoriya looked up at him, his cheeks still tinged pink from the alcohol and the lingering closeness. Kachan. What? Thanks for coming after me. Deku has a small, sheepish smile tugging at his lips. Bakugo scoffed, turning away as he shoved the door open. Yeah, don't make it a habit, nerd. But as they stepped back inside, the faint blush on Bakugo's cheeks betrayed the gruffness of his words. In the morning, FBI, open up! Ida's voice, muffled but booming, was accompanied by a sharp series of knocks that made everyone inside Mina's room jolt awake. What the hell? Bakugo sat up abruptly with his hair sticking up in every direction. Mina, still half asleep, glared daggers at Denki. You, get the door and pretend like it's just us in here. Move. Kaminari, bleary-eyed and still wearing the shirt he'd slept in backward, stumbled to his feet. Me? Why me? Because you look the least suspicious right now. Mina whispered, scrambling to shove empty bottles under her bed. And I'm not about to face Ida's wrath at 8 in the morning. Meanwhile, Shiro and Kirishima groggily tried to fix the mess of blankets and pillows that littered the floor. Todoroki sat motionless, clearly still waking up, while Midoriya rubbed his head, groaning softly. Bakugo shot Midoriya a pointed glare. This is all your fault, nerd. If you hadn't run off last night, can we not do this now? Kaminari, already near the door, took a deep breath and opened it slightly, peeking out with the most innocent smile he could muster. Hey, Iida, Kaminari stammered, his voice cracking slightly. What's up, man? It's kind of early. Iida, standing tall and imposing in the hallway, adjusted his glasses with a suspicious look. It is precisely 7:30 a.m., an appropriate time for a morning check-in. Are you aware that curfew was in effect last night? I received a report from a patrolling teacher that some students may have been out of bounds. Our report? Oh, man, that's wild. Nope, just me and Mina here. She passed out early, so, we're good. Iida squinted, his eyes scanning the partially opened door. You're sure? There are no other students here. No rule-breaking activities to report. Behind Kaminari, Mina frantically mimed for everyone to stay quiet, waving her hands like a traffic director. Bakugo rolled his eyes, clearly annoyed, while Shiro silently shoved a pillow into Shoto's hands, as if to make him look less guilty. Yep, just us. He lets out a nervous laugh, leaning casually against the doorframe, only to slip and nearly faceplant when his elbow missed the edge. Ida's brow furrowed at Kaminari's clumsiness, his gaze shifting toward the room beyond. If that's the case, I'd like to confirm. Whoa, no need. Kaminari blurted out, blocking Ida's attempt to peer inside. Mina's still half asleep, and, she'll kill me if I let anyone in before she's had her coffee, you know. Morning grumpiness and all that. Mina rolled her eyes but nodded approvingly. Iida hesitated with suspicion, but after a moment, he stepped back. Very well, I shall trust your word for now. But know this, the rules are in place for a reason. Do not test them. Kaminari nodded furiously. Absolutely. Rules are super important. Got it. With one last sharp glance, Iida turned and marched away, his footsteps echoing down the hall. As soon as the coast was clear, Kaminari shut the door and collapsed against it, letting out a long, exaggerated sigh. I think I just lost 10 years of my life. Nice save, but you could have been a little less obvious. Obvious? I was under so much pressure. Shut it, Bakugo interrupted, standing up and cracking his neck. Next time, don't let things get this messy in the first place. Midoriya looked sheepish, rubbing the back of his neck. I might have caused some of that mess. You think? Bakugo snapped, his glare cutting. Okay, let's all just calm down and clean this up before anyone else decides to come knocking, yeah. The group nodded in agreement, scrambling to make the room look as innocent as possible. Pillows were fluffed and blankets were folded. Mina took charge, pointing a finger decisively. Okay, listen up, we need to leave this room without making it look like we were all holed up here. We'll go downstairs at different times, maybe in pairs or trios, so it seems like we just bumped into each other. Got it. Mina's gaze landed on the incriminating bottle of booze, still sitting precariously on the floor. And that, she narrowed her eyes, needs to go. Bakubro, you're in charge of getting rid of it. Bakugo froze, then snarled, why the heck should I be the one doing that? Midoriya, wide-eyed, shot forward and clamped a hand over Bakugo's mouth. Shush, Kachan, our classmates might hear you. Mina rolled her eyes and crossed her arms. Look, you're the guy everyone trusts the most, Bakugo. They'd never suspect you of sneaking booze. If you just put the bottle in a plastic bag and dump it in the forest nearby, no one will think twice. Bakugo yanked Midoriya's hand off his mouth, glaring at Mina. You seriously think I care what these extras think? I'll go with you, Kachan, Midoriya offered brightly, his tone a little too eager. We can pretend we're going to train. That way, it looks totally normal. PFF'd, Kirishima snickered from the corner, trying and failing to keep a straight face. Yeah, normal, totally, except they're probably gonna think you're up to something. Midoriya blinked, confused. Something else? Like what? Something fishy, something sus. Zero joined in with a laugh. He barely got the words out before Bakugo's fist landed on his shoulder with a solid thud. Shut your damn mouth, tape dispenser. Zero winced, rubbing his shoulder. Ow, that's assault, man. Bakugo turned back to Mina with a scowl. Fine, I'll handle it, but if anyone says one more word, I'm blowing up this room. Ah, thanks, Bakubro. Midoriya beamed, falling into step beside Bakugo as they prepared to leave. Don't worry, Kachan, I'll help. Help by keeping your mouth shut, nerd, Bakugo muttered, grabbing the bottle and stuffing it into a bag. As they stepped into the hallway, Mina couldn't help but grin. Think they'll actually make it to the forest? Not without a fight or something sus, Zero added with a grin, earning another round of snickers from the group. In Bakugo and Midoriya's location, as the first rays of sunrise stretched across the sky, Bakugo stormed down the hill toward the forest, bottle clinking faintly in the plastic bag at his side. His patience, already thin, snapped as he realized Midoriya was trailing. Why the hell are you following me, Izuku? Midoriya flinched but stood his ground, his expression earnest. I'm here to help, it's a team effort, right? Bakugo abruptly stopped, turning on his heel to glare at him. Did you just raise your voice at me, Deku? His fiery red eyes narrowed dangerously, and his grip on the bag tightened. I wasn't yelling, Midoriya protested, instinctively stepping back. I just thought you might need backup in case someone sees us. TCH. Backup. I don't need backup to ditch a bottle in the woods. This isn't a damn covert mission. Technically, it kind of is. We're sneaking around, avoiding detection, and you're still talking. Bakugo turned back toward the forest path. You're lucky I don't blow you up right here and now. Midoriya sighed, jogging to catch up. Look, Kachan, I'm just saying. No, you're just annoying. Bakugo snapped, stomping ahead with purpose. Shut your trap, follow my lead, and don't screw this up. Got it, Midoriya replied meekly, though his resolve to keep things smooth only strengthened. As Bakugo led the way deeper into the woods, Midoriya glanced nervously over his shoulder, wondering how long it would be before someone noticed their absence. The two walked in silence for a while, the crunch of leaves and the distant chirping of birds filling the air. Finally, they reached a small clearing surrounded by thick undergrowth. Here, Bakugo said brusquely, tossing the bag to Midoriya. You dig, I'll keep watch. Wait, what, me? Yeah, you. Bakugo crossed his arms. You're the one who wanted to help, right? Now shut up and dig before I bury you with it. With a resigned sigh, Midoriya knelt and started clawing at the dirt with his hands, muttering under his breath about how this wasn't exactly what he'd envisioned when he offered to help. Bakugo leaned against a tree, keeping an eye on the trail behind them. Hurry it up, Deku. If Iida catches us, I'll blow him up, too. Midoriya paused, glancing up with a concerned look. You wouldn't really blow him up, right? Bakugo grinned, his tone laced with mischief. Try me. As he finished scraping a shallow hole in the ground with his hands, the sound of rustling leaves made both him and Bakugo freeze. They spun toward the source, and to their surprise, Todoroki emerged from the dense underbrush, looking unusually disheveled. Todoroki. Midoriya blinked in confusion, standing up and brushing dirt off his hands. What are you doing here? I was looking for you, Todoroki's eyes locking onto Midoriya with an intensity that made Bakugo bristle immediately. You left without telling anyone, and I got worried. Midoriya rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly. Ah, sorry about that. We were just, taking care of something. Todoroki stepped closer, his expression softening as he reached out to brush some stray dirt off Midoriya's sleeve. You should have told me. You don't have to do things like this alone. Bakugo narrowed his eyes, stepping forward and shoving himself between the two of them. What the hell is this, icy hot? You suddenly joined the welcoming committee or something? Todoroki barely acknowledged Bakugo, sidestepping him to stand closer to Midoriya. You have dirt on your cheek, Midoriya. He reached out to gently wipe it away with his thumb. There, all better. Midoriya flushed, caught off guard by Todoroki's sudden closeness. Thanks. Bakugo clicked his tongue, his hands sparking faintly. Oi, back off. Deku's busy helping me, and I don't need your half-and-half face poking around. Todoroki tilted his head, his calm appearance unshaken. Helping you? It looks like he's doing all the work while you stand around. Like hell he is, and even if he was, it's none of your business. He's gotta do what I say anyway. He lost a bet to me yesterday. Kachan, do you really have to bring that up now? You bet your ass I do. Bakugo's smirk was downright predatory. You agreed to do whatever I say for 24 hours, and that clock's still ticking, nerd. Todoroki's gaze flicked between them, his brows furrowing slightly. A bet? What kind of bet? None of your damn business. Deku, go pick up that bag and hand it to me. Now. Midoriya hesitated but obeyed, grabbing the bag with the incriminating bottle and passing it to Bakugo. As he did, Bakugo leaned in closer, his voice dropping into a low, almost teasing growl. Good. Now, stay close. Real close. Midoriya blinked, his cheeks heating up at Bakugo's tone. Okay. Todoroki frowned and stepped forward, placing a hand on Midoriya's shoulder. You don't have to listen to him, Midoriya. If you're uncomfortable. Before he could finish, Bakugo's hand shot out, pushing Todoroki's arm away. He's fine. He's with me. Todoroki's gaze lingered on Midoriya, concern etched into his features. Are you sure? You don't look fine. Midoriya glanced between them, flustered by the sudden tension. I'm fine. Really. Let's not fight. But before anyone could say anything else, Todoroki's demeanor shifted. His expression twisted into something unfamiliar, an unsettling grin that was too wide, too unlike his usual calm. Well, this is boring, Todoroki said, his voice suddenly lilting with amusement. He tilted his head, eyes gleaming with mischief. How long were you going to keep this up, Bakugo? I was hoping for more of a reaction. Bakugo's eyes narrowed, his instincts kicking in. What the hell? In an instant, Todoroki's features began to melt and shift. His mismatched eyes morphed into a pair of golden ones, his bicolored hair blending into blonde. Standing before them now was none other than Toga Hamiko, grinning maniacally. Surprise, she sang, twirling on the spot. I've been wanting to see how you'd all react if I acted a little clingy. Did you like it, Midoriya? Was it fun? I did my best to escape the prison for you, honey. Midoriya's blood ran cold as he stumbled back. Toga, Bakugo immediately exploded into action, throwing a small blast at her feet to force her back. What the hell are you doing here, freak? Toga giggled, dodging easily and spinning away. Relax, Bakugo. I was just having fun. You're so possessive. It's cute.
Homosexual.
Some point. Huh?
Are you homosexual?
A what?
A homosexual.
What's that?
Bakugo growled, lunging at her with another explosion. You're dead. Toga ducked and darted into the forest, her laughter echoing behind her. See you later, Midoriya tilde. As her presence faded, Bakugo turned to Midoriya, his anger still simmering. You're an idiot for not noticing sooner. Midoriya could only stare at where Toga had vanished, his mind racing. How did she get so close without us realizing? Bakugo clenched his fists, his expression dark. Doesn't matter. Next time, I'm blowing her to pieces before she gets a chance to pull this crap again. The next week, the cafeteria buzzed with energy as students gathered for lunch, chattering excitedly about upcoming holidays. Winter had fully set in, snow blanketing the UA grounds, and festive decorations were beginning to appear in the halls. The mood was light, though some were still whispering about the strange Toga incident from days earlier. The buzz of conversation quieted as Present Mike's enthusiastic voice boomed over the intercom. Yo, students of UA. This is your favorite announcer bringing you some holly jolly news. Mark your calendars, because 1 week from today, it's time for the UA Christmas party extravaganza. The cafeteria erupted into cheers, with students clapping and exchanging excited glances. Present Mike continued, barely pausing for breath. This year, we're going all out: lights, music, games, Secret Santa exchanges, and yes, a massive feast in the main hall. Dress code, festive, of course. That means ugly sweaters, cute holiday outfits, or whatever makes you feel merry and bright. I hope it's not required. Darkness doesn't celebrate in tinsel. And the cherry on top, there'll be a surprise performance by a special guest. So get ready to party like heroes. Mic out. The announcement ended, leaving the cafeteria buzzing with even more excitement. At the Class 1A table. This is gonna be awesome. Kaminari nearly spilling his drink in his excitement. I can't wait to see everyone in goofy sweaters. Mina leaned forward, grinning. Forget sweaters, how many of you are brave enough to wear Christmas onesies? Ha 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 ha, challenge accepted. Midoriya smiled, already jotting down notes. A Secret Santa exchange sounds like fun. I wonder who I'll get. Bet you'll overthink it. You'll be drawing diagrams to find the perfect gift. Probably. Bakugo, sitting nearby, rolled his eyes. TCH. Waste of time. Just throw a party, eat the food, and leave. Come on, Kachan. Where's your holiday spirit? I left it at goofy sweaters. This could be fun, Kachan. The last time we celebrated Christmas was only at the dorms, but I'm glad Eri-chan was with us. No one asked. Izuku. Ha 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 ha, why does he sound like he's still sulking from the Toga incident? Sulking? What, tape face? I'll kill you. Please stop that, guys. Ciro's right though. I mean, did it bother you that much when you actually saw Todoroki approaching Midoriya like that? Mina, please, that wasn't half and half anyway. Shut the hell up, raccoon eyes.
Denial is a river in Egypt!
Todoroki, who had been quietly sipping his tea, looked up. It could be fun. I've never really attended a Christmas party before. The table fell quiet for a moment before Mina clapped her hands. Okay, change of plans. Our new mission is to make this party the best one ever for Todoroki. I don't think that's necessary. Oh, it's happening, and we're starting with getting everyone into the festive mood. Who's in? I'm always in for the fun, dude. A chorus of agreement rose from the table, though Bakugo crossed his arms and glared at them all. I'm not wearing anything stupid. Mina smirked. Oh, we'll see about that, Bakubro. As the excited chatter about the Xmas party reached a peak, the familiar sound of a dry cough silenced the cafeteria. All heads turned toward the front, where Mr. Aizawa stood, his ever-present sleeping bag draped over one arm. Attention, Class 1A. And everyone else, I suppose. There's an additional announcement regarding the Christmas festivities. The students leaned forward in their seats, curiosity piqued. Aizawa sighed, clearly less enthusiastic than the crowd before him. Following the Christmas tree lighting ceremony, there will be a formal ball in the main hall. Attendance is mandatory for all students. Dress accordingly. A stunned silence followed. A ball, like a fancy ball, with gowns and suits and stuff. Do you see any other meaning for the word ball, Ashido? Aizawa deadpanned, his voice laced with mild irritation. The room erupted into chaos. Formal outfits. I don't even own a suit. Do we have to learn how to dance? I bet Iida already knows ballroom dancing, Ciro teased, nudging the class president. Iida adjusted his glasses, standing up with a confident posture. Of course, ballroom dancing is a fundamental skill for any dignified hero. If anyone requires assistance, I'd be happy to offer lessons. Bakugo's face twisted in irritation. TCH. This is so damn unnecessary. Who cares about dressing up? We're heroes, not some fairy tale extras. I've never attended a formal ball before. Is it similar to the ones in those romance movies? Kind of, Todoroki, but better. There's gonna be music, dancing, and, ooh, I wonder if there'll be a mistletoe moment. Midoriya's cheeks turned bright red at the thought, and he quickly looked down at his notebook, pretending to scribble. Aizawa rubbed his temples, his patience wearing thin. Yes, there will be dancing. Yes, you're all required to dress appropriately. And no, Bakugo, you don't get to skip it. I didn't even say anything. Bakugo snapped, though his scowl deepened. You were thinking about it. The teacher's gaze swept across the room, ensuring everyone understood the weight of his words. This is part of your training as heroes. You'll be attending events like these in your professional careers. Consider this a trial run. Now, unless there are any intelligent questions, I suggest you start preparing. With that, Aizawa turned and shuffled away, leaving the students buzzing with excitement and panic. This is huge. I need to find the perfect dress. Same here, though I guess I can't wear my usual jacket for this. I don't even know where to start. Oh, don't worry, Midoriya. We'll help you find something that'll make everyone stop and stare. Kirishima leaned toward Bakugo, smirking. What about you, man? You gonna rock a tux? Bakugo's eye twitched. Hell no, I'll wear whatever doesn't make me look like an idiot, and that's it. Technically, formal wear usually involves suits or tuxedos, so you don't really have a choice. Don't start, half and half. Todoroki ignored him, turning to Midoriya instead. Midoriya, do you know how to dance? I could teach you if you'd like. Midoriya's face turned crimson. Well, I mean, I don't really. Oh, no way, Mina interrupted, catching onto Todoroki's suggestion with a mischievous grin. We all need to practice. Group dance lessons, anyone? The idea was met with mixed reactions, ranging from Ida's enthusiastic nod to Bakugo's threatening glare. This ball is gonna be amazing. I can feel it, Bakugo muttered under his breath, crossing his arms. If it's not, I'm blowing up the decorations. During lunch, the classroom has a relaxed energy now that class had ended for the day. Desks had been rearranged into small clusters as the students gathered for lunch, bags of takeaway food scattered across the tables. The aroma of various dishes filled the room, mingling with the faint scent of chalk and paper. Midoriya sat at one of the tables with a tray of rice and curry, his notes from the morning's lecture still spread out in front of him. His chopsticks hovered over his food as his expression turned contemplative. I really hope Uraraka can make it to the party. She's been sick for days now. It's not like her to be out this long. The lively group paused, the mention of their absent classmate casting a brief shadow over the conversation. She'll bounce back, Mina said confidently, popping a piece of sushi into her mouth. Recovery girl's probably already working her magic. Uraraka's tough, she'll make it in time. Yeah, she's got that unbreakable spirit. If anyone can recover fast, it's her. Kirishima unwrapped a massive burger. Midoriya nodded slowly, though his worry lingered. I don't know, it's been a while since she's been this sick. I just hope she doesn't miss everything she's been looking forward to. Across the room, Bakugo sat with his arms crossed, his half-eaten meal forgotten as he glared at Midoriya. Deku, quit making it sound like she's on her deathbed. Bakugo snapped, his voice cutting through the low hum of conversation. Midoriya blinked, startled by the sharp tone. I'm not saying that, Kachan, I'm just. You're worrying too much. She'll be fine. You don't need to act like she's the only damn person who's ever been sick. Todoroki, sitting across from Midoriya, spoke up calmly, sipping from a cup of tea. If she isn't well enough to attend, we could always bring part of the celebration to her. It's not hard to make her feel included. That's a great idea. It would be a good demonstration of heroism showing care and compassion for our fellow classmates. Midoriya's worried frown softened, and he smiled slightly. That's true. I'll stop by later to check on her. Maybe I can bring her some snacks or decorations to lift her spirits. Bakugo slammed his chopsticks onto his lunchbox, his glare intact. TCH, you've got way too much time on your hands if you're making a whole project out of it, nerd. Midoriya frowned, looking confused. Kachan, it's just about helping a friend. Mina smirked from her spot a few desks over, leaning her chin on her hand as she watched the interaction. Ah, Bakubro, you sound kind of jealous. Do you want Deku to bring you snacks too? Bakugo shot her a glare. Shut it, Pinky, or I'll blow that smug look off your face. Mina just grinned wider, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Touchy, aren't we? Oblivious to the implications, Midoriya rubbed the back of his neck and smiled sheepishly. Well, I'll still go check on her later. I think seeing someone will cheer her up, and maybe she'll recover quicker. Bakugo pushed his chair back abruptly, standing with a sharp scrape that made everyone look up. Do whatever you want, nerd. Just don't waste your time playing nursemaid when there's actual work to do. With that, he stormed out of the room, leaving the rest of the group in a stunned silence. Wow, Kaminari said after a moment, stuffing a fry into his mouth. What crawled up his cape and died? Jealousy, Mina smirked, leaning back in her chair. Totally jealousy. Midoriya looked toward the door, still perplexed. Jealous? Why would Kacchan be jealous? Mina chuckled, wagging a finger at him. Oh, Deku, sweet, innocent Deku. One day, you'll figure it out. During dinner, the dorm kitchen was alive with the sounds of clattering pans, sizzling food, and Class 1A's usual brand of chaos. Everyone had taken up a task to contribute to dinner, but with this group, helping, often turned into comedic disaster. Bakugo bellowed, snatching a ladle from Kaminari, who had been enthusiastically spinning it in circles. I said stir the pot, not turn it into a whirlpool. I was aerating it. Kaminari earned a withering glare from Bakugo. On the other side of the kitchen, Mina and Kirishima were locked in a battle of seasoning, Mina giggling as she tried to sprinkle paprika into the pot while Kirishima shielded it with his spatula. You're going to make it too spicy. And you're going to make it too boring. At the table, Uraraka sat bundled in a blanket, a cup of tea steaming in her hands. You guys are something else, she said with a raspy laugh, her voice still hoarse from her illness. Should you even be here? Iida asked, his concern evident as he diced vegetables with the precision of a surgeon. Recovery girl said you need rest. Rest is boring. Besides, this is more fun. Midoriya hurried over to her, holding out a bowl of soup he'd been carefully ladling. Here, Uraraka, I made this for you. It's light and full of nutrients. Recovery girl approved. Uraraka's eyes lit up. Ah, thanks, Deku. You're the best. From across the room, Bakugo slammed a cutting board onto the counter. Oh Deku, stop babying her. She can eat what everyone else is having. Midoriya turned, startled. But Kacchan, she's still recovering. I just thought, don't think, just do what I tell you, Bakugo snapped, grabbing the soup pot and shoving it onto the stove with unnecessary force. Bakubro, that was kind of harsh, Kirishima interrupted, scratching the back of his head. Shut up, shitty hair. If Deku's got time to fuss over extras, he's got time to help me with the meat. Bakugo pointed at a tray of uncooked steaks. Okay, Midoriya joined Bakugo. At the edge of the kitchen, Shinso leaned against the counter, watching the chaos unfold with a faint smirk. You guys are exhausting to watch. He picked up a knife to lazily help slice some bread. Join the fun, Shinso. Mina tossed him a tomato. Shinso caught it effortlessly and began slicing, his tone dry. This is me joining. Chaos isn't really my style. The next half hour devolved into more mishaps. Zero accidentally flung batter onto the ceiling while trying to flip a pancake. Todoroki set the corner of a napkin on fire while helping Momo melt butter, and Jiro somehow got her earjack tangled in a whisk. You guys are a disaster, Shinso remarked, shaking his head as he handed off the neatly sliced bread to Iida. Yeah, but we're a fun disaster, Kaminari replied with a wink, narrowly avoiding a spatula aimed at his head by Bakugo. By the time dinner was ready, the kitchen was a complete mess, and the dining table was piled high with an eclectic mix of dishes. You know, it's a miracle we didn't burn the dorms down. After dinner, Todoroki calmly picked up a stack of plates and turned to Midoriya. We should wash these. It's only fair since we didn't cook much. Oh, yeah, good idea. Midoriya gathered the utensils and following Todoroki to the sink. Bakugo's eyes narrowed as he watched them from across the room, his irritation boiling over as Todoroki leaned closer to Midoriya while they worked. Midoriya, pass me that plate, Todoroki asked, his voice smooth as he reached over, their hands brushing briefly. Midoriya blinked and smiled shyly. Oh, sure. You're really good at this. Everything you do seems so meticulous. Midoriya flushed at the compliment, rubbing the back of his neck. Thanks, Todoroki-kun. I just try my best. Bakugo couldn't take it anymore. Oh Deku, he shouted, stomping toward the sink. What the hell are you doing taking so long? We're just finishing up the dishes. You're not finishing fast enough. Bakugo snapped, grabbing a dish towel and practically shoving it into Midoriya's hands. Dry these and stop standing around like an idiot. Todoroki raised an eyebrow, his tone calm but pointed. You seem unusually invested in the dishwashing process, Bakugo. Shut up, icy hot. Deku, you're not slacking off on my watch. Midoriya sighed, glancing between the two of them. Right, okay, work faster. Behind them, Mina nudged Kirishima and whispered, Bakugo's totally jealous. This is gold, Kirishima chuckled. Poor Midoriya doesn't even realize it. Shinso smirked from his seat, his sharp eyes tracking the interaction. I don't need my quirk to tell who's got it bad. After a while, the dorms were dimly lit as the students began their nightly routines. The energy from the chaotic dinner had mostly settled, though a few stragglers still lingered in the common area. Midoriya was carrying a pile of freshly folded blankets for Uraraka, intending to leave them by her door so she'd be comfortable throughout the night. Shinso, leaning casually against the wall near the staircase, noticed Midoriya struggling with the unwieldy stack. Need a hand, he offered, his voice low and smooth. Oh, thanks, Shinso-kun. I didn't realize how heavy these would feel. Shinso took half the blankets with ease, his gaze flicking over to Midoriya's flushed face. You've got a habit of taking on too much, don't you? Midoriya chuckled nervously. I just like helping out. It feels good to make things easier for everyone. Shinso smirked as they walked side by side toward Uraraka's room. You're way too nice for your own good, you know that. Sometimes, you've gotta let people take care of you instead. Midoriya blinked up at him, his expression a mix of surprise and awkward gratitude. I guess I just don't think about it like that. Stopping by Uraraka's door, Shinso leaned down slightly, his face close to Midoriya's as he helped stack the blankets. Maybe you should start thinking about it, he murmured, his voice dropping an octave. The proximity sent a shiver down Midoriya's spine. Right, thanks, Midoriya stammered, stepping back hastily, his cheeks burning. Shinso straightened, his smirk widening. You're fun to mess with, Midoriya, he lets out an easy laugh. Good night. As Shinso turned to leave, Bakugo stepped into the hallway, stopping dead in his tracks. His crimson eyes darted between the two of them, narrowing dangerously as he took in Midoriya's flustered expression and Shinso's relaxed demeanor. The hell's going on here? Bakugo called out, his voice sharp enough to make both of them flinch. Nothing, we were just helping with the blankets, Shinso finished, his calm tone a stark contrast to Bakugo's fiery glare. Relax, Bakugo, not everything's a big deal. Bakugo's jaw clenched as he stalked closer. TCH, whatever, get outta here, mind freak. Shinso raised an eyebrow but shrugged, giving Midoriya a small wave before disappearing down the hallway. Midoriya watched him leave, only to feel Bakugo's searing gaze on him. What the hell, Deku? What, Kachan, what's wrong? Don't play dumb, do what you want, not like I care. Kachan, wait, Midoriya started, but Bakugo was already gone, his retreating footsteps echoing down the hall. The next few days were tense. Bakugo avoided Midoriya at every turn, his usual fiery temperament replaced by a cold aloofness. He refused to meet Midoriya's eyes during class, turned his back on him during training exercises, and even skipped their usual sparring sessions. Midoriya couldn't understand what he'd done wrong. Every time he tried to approach Bakugo, the other boy either walked away or snapped at him to leave him alone. It left Midoriya feeling a deep ache in his chest, though he couldn't put into words why. The rest of the class noticed the shift, of course. Kirishima tried to coax Bakugo into talking, but all he got was a grunt and a muttered, "None of your business." Mina, meanwhile, cornered Midoriya during lunch, poking him in the arm. Alright, spill. What did you do to make Bakugo so? I dunno, weird, I don't know. I don't even know why he's mad at me. You have no idea at all, bae. Because, we all are kinda getting the hint now you know. Hint on what, Mina? Just tell me what it is so I can make things right. I really have no idea. I can't tell you, since it's better if you'll hear it from him yourself.
Ever look at someone and wonder, what is going on inside their head?
I always do, especially with Kaminari ha. Since you know what I feel, please tell me what you think about why's Kachan been avoiding me. Well, figure it out. I think you're the only one who can. As Midoriya sat at his desk, burying his head in his arms with a frustrated sigh, Shinso leaned closer, resting his elbow casually on the desk. His piercing gaze lingered on Midoriya, and a smirk played on his lips. You know, You're carrying so much tension you might snap in two. Is Bakugo the cause of all that? Midoriya lifted his head, his freckled cheeks faintly pink. It's not really something I can talk about. He avoided Shinso's eyes. Shinso chuckled softly, a sound that sent an unintentional shiver up Midoriya's spine. You're such a terrible liar. He leaned even closer. Come on, it's me. I don't judge. Midoriya shifted uncomfortably, and as he did, Shinso reached out, brushing a hand against Midoriya's shoulder. The touch was light but deliberate, and it made Midoriya freeze in place. Relax. Sometimes, it helps to just let things out. You've got a lot bottled up, don't you? Midoriya finally looked up, his green eyes wide and uncertain. I guess, but it's complicated, Shinso-kun. I don't want to make things worse. Shinso's fingers lingered for a moment before he gave a firm squeeze to Deku's shoulder, leaning close enough that their faces were inches apart. You overthink everything. I think you just have to trust someone to listen. Midoriya's breath hitched at the closeness. His gaze flickered between Shinso's steady eyes and the faint smirk still gracing his lips. I guess I could use someone to talk to, Midoriya admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Good, Shinso replied, his hand sliding down briefly to Midoriya's forearm before he pulled away entirely. The absence of his touch left Midoriya strangely aware of how warm it had been. Before Midoriya could respond, a loud scrape of a chair interrupted them. Both turned to see Bakugo standing abruptly, his hands shoved into his pockets as he glared daggers at Shinso. His jaw was tight, and his crimson eyes practically burned with fury. The hell are you two doing? Bakugo snapped, his voice cold and accusatory. Nothing. Deku's flustered as he waved his hands defensively. Shinso, however, didn't miss a beat. He leaned back in his chair, his smirk widening. Nothing to worry about, Bakugo. We're just talking. Bakugo's eyes narrowed, his scowl deepening. TCH, whatever. Without another word, he stormed out of the classroom, the door slamming shut behind him. Midoriya winced, guilt twisting in his chest. Kachan. Shinso tilted his head, watching the door Bakugo had just exited through. You sure that's nothing? He asked, his voice laced with curiosity. Midoriya hesitated, his heart feeling heavier than before. I don't know. He clutched his notebook tightly. Shinso gave him a thoughtful look before standing and patting him lightly on the shoulder. Figure it out, Midoriya. But don't let anyone push you around, not even him. With that, Shinso walked away, leaving Midoriya alone in the classroom with a storm of emotions he wasn't sure how to handle. Just then, Midoriya have decided he is going to face Bakugo. As Midoriya left the classroom, his feet moved automatically in the direction Bakugo had stormed off moments ago. The familiar halls of UA were quiet now, the distant hum of chatter from other classes barely audible. His thoughts swirled like a storm, each one striking harder than the last. Kachan's avoiding me. Why? What did I do wrong? The memories of their long, hard-won truce replayed in his mind. Every moment they had worked together during the war, every time Bakugo had shielded him without hesitation, every subtle acknowledgement that they had become more than rivals but not quite friends, all of it felt like it was unraveling. As he rounded a corner, Midoriya wiped at his eyes. No, Kachan wouldn't just throw all that away, would he? His chest tightened as the thought lingered, refusing to be silenced. What if he starts hating me again? His heart ached, and his pace slowed as he stepped into the open courtyard just beyond the main academic building. That's when he saw him, Bakugo, leaning casually against a wall near the stairwell, talking to someone. A girl. She was from another class. Midoriya recognized her vaguely from one of their training exercises, but the way she leaned closer, laughing at something Bakugo said, made his stomach drop. Bakugo wasn't just tolerating her company. He was engaging, smirking in that subtle, cocky way of his that was usually reserved for moments when he was feeling smug about a win. Midoriya stopped in his tracks, his breath catching in his throat. Kachan's, smiling. It wasn't like him, especially not around others. Midoriya's chest tightened as he watched the girl tap Bakugo's arm, and he didn't shove her away. Instead, he rolled his eyes, his smirk softening into something that almost looked kind. The sight hit Midoriya like a punch to the gut. He didn't understand why it hurt so much, but it did. Why is he acting like that with her? He's been avoiding me all day, and now he's laughing with someone else. His fists clenched at his sides as the unwelcome pang of jealousy twisted in his chest. He tried to reason with himself. He has every right to talk to other people. It's not like I matter that much to him, anyway. But the thought only made it worse. Just then, as if sensing his presence, Bakugo turned his head sharply. His crimson eyes locked onto Midoriya's teary green ones, and for a brief moment, something flickered in his gaze, surprise, maybe even guilt. Then it was gone, replaced by his usual scowl. "What the hell are you doing here, Deku?" The girl beside him looked over, her expression curious as she glanced between Bakugo and Midoriya. Midoriya froze, his heart pounding. I was just. He trailed off, feeling his cheeks burn as he hastily wiped at his eyes. "It's nothing. Sorry for interrupting." He turned to leave, his footsteps heavy as he tried to ignore the lump forming in his throat. "Oi, Deku." Bakugo's voice stopped him. Midoriya hesitated but didn't turn around. Whatever. Go back to the classroom," Bakugo muttered, his tone less sharp but still dismissive. "Don't just wander around like an idiot." Midoriya clenched his fists, his nails digging into his palms as he forced himself to nod and keep walking. As he disappeared down the hall, Bakugo's scowl deepened, his gaze lingering where Midoriya had been standing moments ago. The girl beside him tilted her head, her curiosity evident. "Friend of yours?" Bakugo clicked his tongue, shoving his hands into his pockets. "Mind your damn business." The next day, the days stretched on painfully as the silence between Midoriya and Bakugo became a routine neither seemed willing to break. What had once been a hard-won friendship now felt like a delicate thread, fraying with each glance and missed opportunity to speak. Midoriya caught Bakugo's fleeting stares more often than he liked. Whether during class, over a shared lunch break, or even in training, those sharp crimson eyes would lock on him briefly before darting away. Each time it happened, Midoriya's chest tightened. Why won't he say something? Why can't I just ask him what's wrong? Yet, the festive buzz at UA refused to be dulled. The Christmas party was drawing nearer, and Class 1A was electric with anticipation. Decorations had been finalized, rehearsals for skits were in full swing, and now their focus had shifted entirely to the post-party ball. "All right, everyone, gather round. We've got 1 week left, and we still need to figure out our outfits and dates for the Christmas ball." "No excuses. Dates?" Midoriya asked weakly, gripping his chopsticks like they were a lifeline. "Duh, Deku, it's a formal ball. You can't just wander in like it's another training session. You've gotta plan who you're going with, how you're dressing, everything." "Are we seriously planning dates now?" Jiro muttered, trying to hide behind her rice bowl. "I thought this was about having fun." "Fun? Jiro, this is war." Mina grabbed one of the dress catalogs UA had sent to their dorm. "Look at these gowns. We're supposed to slay." Yaoyorozu held up an elegant emerald gown from the stack. "I think I'll go with this one. It's festive and fits the theme perfectly." Wait. Mina waved her arms frantically, holding a silver dress against herself. "We have to coordinate our colors for group photos. If you're taking green, maybe I'll go silver. You guys are overthinking it. As long as we look good, who cares about matching?" "Uraraka, what about you?" Mina asked, pointing toward their friend, who was still swaddled in a blanket at the couch. Uraraka waved weakly. "I'll just take whatever's left. You guys pick first. I don't think I'll be dancing much anyway." "No way, you're getting first choice." Mina grabbed a peach-colored dress and practically flung it at her. "Try this one, it'll look so cute." As the girls continued their chaotic fashion show, the boys weren't faring much better. "All right, dudes, what are we wearing?" "I'm thinking something sharp but still manly. Maybe red to match the holiday vibe." "Who cares? It's not like anyone's gonna be looking at me." "Ah, come on, Bakubro." Kirishima threw an arm around his shoulders. "You're gonna kill it. Just imagine everyone doing double takes when you walk in looking like a king. King of blowing people up, maybe. Or king of jealousy. Who are you gonna impress, Bakugo? Got your eyes on anyone? Shut it, tape face. Careful, Zero. He might actually explode you this time." Meanwhile, Todoroki's voice cut through the chaos like a calm breeze. "The ball isn't just about appearances. It's an opportunity to connect with our classmates in a new way. I'm looking forward to it." Mina's head snapped toward him like a hawk spotting prey. "Oh, Todoroki, don't tell me you've already got a special someone in mind." Todoroki tilted his head slightly, glancing briefly at Midoriya before answering with a simple, maybe. The room went silent for half a second before erupting into shouts and teasing. "Who is it, Todoroki?" Kaminari demanded, leaning forward eagerly. "Spill the beans." Mina was practically bouncing on her toes. "Midoriya, is it you?" Midoriya nearly choked on his tea. What? And no, I mean, I don't think so. Wait, why would you even? Oh, come on, Deku, that blush says it all. Guys, leave him alone. Let him breathe. Bakugo's glare darkened from his corner of the room. His fists clenched against the desk, and it looked like he might actually erupt. Oi, can you idiots shut up already? Some of us don't care about your dumbass fairy tale crap. The room quieted slightly, but the tension hung thick in the air. Midoriya couldn't help but glance at Bakugo, his chest tightening at the storm brewing in those crimson eyes. What did I do to make him hate me again? With only 2 days left before the Christmas ball, the final preparations for the big night were underway, and everyone seemed to be in their own little world of stress, excitement, and, in some cases, chaos. Alright, everyone, we have 2 days left. Time to pull it all together. We've got our outfits, we've got the date plans or not, but we still need to finalize some things. You know, like, who you're actually going with, huh, Deku? She raised an eyebrow with a mischievous grin. Midoriya flinched, turning red. I already told you. I haven't decided yet. Well, it's not like you've got much time left. You better figure it out before someone else swoops in, or you might end up just dancing with me. What? Midoriya's eyes widened, but before he could protest, Uraraka interrupted from her blanket fort on the couch. Enough with the teasing, Mina. Leave him alone. She smiled, clearly amused, but her voice still held a tired edge. Don't worry, Uraraka, I'll save you from any weird matchmaking attempts. Meanwhile, Bakugo was doing his best to ignore the conversation happening around him. His arms were crossed tightly over his chest as he glared at his desk, pointedly not looking in Midoriya's direction. The thought of his classmate getting too close to anyone else, especially Todoroki, was gnawing at him. You're really not gonna pick anyone? Kirishima asked, nudging Bakugo with his elbow as he passed by. Come on, it's a Christmas ball. Don't tell me you're just gonna show up and act like you don't care about it. I don't, and I don't need anyone telling me what to do either. Alright, Kirishima backed off, but he couldn't help but smile, sensing Bakugo's usual reluctance to admit he cared about anything. Across the room, the girls were still sorting through their dresses, each of them vying for the perfect one, their voices full of excited chatter. Ooh, what do you think about this one? Mina's holding up a sparkling red gown, her grin wider than ever. I mean, it's got the Christmas vibe written all over it. I love it, Mina. But I think we should have a little less sparkle so we don't blind everyone in the room. I think you'll look great no matter what. Uraraka, still feeling a little off from being sick, laughed softly. I don't think I'll be much use in picking dresses for myself, but you guys go ahead. You're all looking fabulous already. But the teasing didn't stop there. As the class began settling into their respective spaces, the talk of dates and outfits turned into something more serious. Hey, Todoroki, Midoriya began, trying to keep his voice casual as he spoke with the half-and-half hero. What are you planning for the ball? Todoroki, who had been sitting quietly, glanced at Midoriya before offering a small smile. I'm going with someone, but I'm not sure what I'm wearing yet. Just something simple. Midoriya blinked, surprised. Someone, who? Todoroki's gaze shifted away briefly before answering. Just, someone who I think would be fun to spend the night with. His voice had an almost unreadable quality, and Midoriya couldn't help but feel a tug in his chest at how vague Todoroki was being. Is it, Uraraka? The moment he said it, he regretted it. Todoroki's expression remained neutral, but Midoriya couldn't ignore the strange feeling in his stomach. Before Todoroki could answer, Bakugo's voice rang out from across the room. Oi, stop making this about you and him. Midoriya quickly turned around to face him, but Bakugo was already heading out the door. I'll be in my room. Bakugo walked past them, his face unreadable. Kachan, Midoriya called out, but he didn't stop or even glance back. The others exchanged looks but decided not to push the matter further. Midoriya couldn't help but feel a pang in his chest. What was going on with Bakugo? Why was he avoiding him so much lately? The rest of the day passed in a blur of conversations and outfit fittings, but the same question lingered in Midoriya's mind, what's going on between me and Bakugo? As the night grew closer, the reality of the Christmas ball was quickly sinking in. Midoriya's thoughts drifted between the excitement of the event and the growing tension between him and Bakugo. With only 2 days left before the ball, he wasn't sure if he was more excited about the festivities or terrified about the silence hanging between them. With the ball approaching, Class 1A would have to face their feelings, both for each other and for the party itself. But right now, nothing felt certain, and the anticipation was only getting harder to bear. Midoriya stepped towards Bakugo's direction. He just followed the blonde and he's not even aware why he's doing this. The next thing he knew, he saw Katsuki entered his room and slammed the door closed. Midoriya stood outside Bakugo's door, his nerves on edge. The silence between them had stretched for days, and it was eating away at him. He couldn't take it anymore. He needed to talk to Bakugo. He raised his hand to knock, but then hesitated. What if he doesn't want to talk? What if he gets mad again? The thought made his stomach twist, but he pushed it aside. They'd been through too much to just let things fall apart now. Taking a deep breath, he knocked on the door softly. "Kachan," Midoriya called, his voice strained with the weight of his worry. "Can we talk for a second?" For a long moment, there was silence on the other side of the door. Midoriya's heart beat faster, a knot tightening in his chest. Maybe he was making a mistake. But then, Bakugo's voice, gruff and cold, finally came through. "What do you want, Deku?" Midoriya winced at the tone. He didn't want to fight, but he couldn't just stand by while things festered. I want to talk. I don't like how things have been lately. It feels like you're avoiding me, and I don't want us to be like we were before." The door creaked open slightly, revealing Bakugo standing there, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. His eyes, normally filled with fire, were dark with irritation. "Yeah, well, maybe I don't want to talk, huh?" Midoriya felt a sharp sting in his chest, but he held his ground. "I don't care, Kachan. We need to talk about this. I hate how we've been acting, like we're strangers again." Bakugo's jaw clenched as he glared at Midoriya, his hands tightening into fists at his sides. "You don't get it, do you? You really think everything can just go back to normal like that?" "I'm not asking for everything to go back to normal. I just want you to talk to me. To let me in. I don't want us to keep pretending like we're fine when we're clearly not." Bakugo's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, it felt like he might snap. The tension in the air was thick, almost suffocating. He opened his mouth as if to shout, but then stopped himself, a flicker of something else crossing his face, something that Midoriya couldn't quite place. "Why do you always have to do this, huh? Why do you have to act like it's all on you to fix everything? I didn't ask you to worry about me." Midoriya's heart hammered in his chest. He could feel his resolve weakening, but he refused to back down. "I don't care if you didn't ask me, Kachan. I'm still going to worry about you. You're my friend, and I'm not going to stand by and watch you push me away." Bakugo's eyes flickered, and for a moment, Midoriya could see the battle raging inside him, pride, anger, and something deeper. "Stop being so damn persistent," Bakugo's voice trembling slightly. He looked away, his hand brushing through his spiky hair in frustration. "You don't know how hard it is, Deku. You just don't. I want to know. I want to understand what's going on with you, Kachan. But you've got to let me in. You can't just keep shutting me out." Bakugo's eyes glanced at Midoriya again, but this time, there was something softer in them, something that caught Midoriya off guard. I don't know how to let you in, alright," Bakugo admitted, his voice cracking slightly. "I don't know how to deal with all this." Midoriya's heart clenched at the vulnerability in Bakugo's voice, and before he could stop himself, he reached out a hand, placing it gently on Bakugo's arm. "Kachan, you don't have to deal with it alone. I'm here, alright, whatever's going on, we can figure it out together." For a long moment, Bakugo stared at Midoriya's hand on his arm, his breath shallow. The air between them was electric, thick with tension. Midoriya's heart raced, unsure of what to do next. Then, without warning, Bakugo stepped forward, his hand grabbing Midoriya's wrist with surprising tenderness. He pulled Midoriya closer, their faces just inches apart. "You're really something, you know that." Bakugo's voice low and almost affectionate. He stared at Midoriya for a long, heavy moment, as if weighing something in his mind. Then, to Midoriya's shock, Bakugo leaned in and pressed a quick kiss to his cheek, brief, but unmistakable. Midoriya's eyes widened in surprise, his face flushing hot. "Kachan." Bakugo pulled back, his face unreadable, his gaze flickering to the floor. "Don't get the wrong idea, Deku," he muttered, his usual harshness creeping back into his voice. "Just don't keep pushing me, alright?" Without another word, Bakugo turned and walked back into his room, leaving Midoriya standing there, still in shock. Midoriya stood frozen for a moment, his hand pressed to his cheek where Bakugo's lips had just been. His heart raced in his chest, and the world around him seemed to fade away for a brief, disorienting moment. What had just happened took Midoriya a moment to regain his composure. His heart was still racing, his cheek tingling from the unexpected kiss. He stood there, motionless, staring at the door Bakugo had just walked through, as if trying to process what had just happened. The air felt charged, heavy with everything left unsaid between them. What did that mean? Midoriya's mind was spinning, his thoughts running wild. He felt a mixture of confusion, warmth, and something deeper, something he didn't quite have the courage to label just yet. But it was there, gnawing at him. After a long moment of standing still, trying to make sense of it all, Midoriya finally snapped out of his trance. His feet moved almost automatically, and before he realized it, he was hurrying back to his room, his heart pounding in his chest. The corridors of the dormitory seemed to stretch endlessly, but it felt like the weight of the world was on his shoulders as he ran. What if he just ruined everything? What if Bakugo didn't mean it the way it felt? His breath came in short bursts, but he couldn't stop now. He needed time to think. He needed to be alone. By the time he reached his room, his heart hadn't slowed. The door slammed shut behind him as he quickly leaned against it, closing his eyes and taking a deep, shaky breath. He slid down to sit on the floor, his legs feeling like they could give out any moment. He rested his elbows on his knees and buried his face in his hands. Kachan. Just the thought of the kiss made his cheeks flush again, his mind buzzing. Had Bakugo really meant it? Or had it been an accident? Was it a sign of something more, or just a fleeting moment in the chaos? His mind raced, the confusion only growing stronger. There was so much he wanted to ask, so much he needed to understand. But for now, all he could do was sit there in silence, the memories of their brief, electric interaction swirling in his head. In the morning sun streamed through the windows of the UA cafeteria, casting a warm glow over the students who were slowly gathering for breakfast. The chatter in the room was loud, but to Midoriya, everything felt muffled, as if his brain was processing everything in slow motion. He sat at the usual table with his friends, though his focus was elsewhere, more specifically, on the person sitting across from him. Katsuki Bakugo. The moment Midoriya had walked in, his eyes instinctively sought him out. It was like a magnetic pull, and sure enough, Bakugo's sharp gaze met his. Midoriya's breath hitched, and he quickly looked away, his heart pounding faster than usual. Why is he looking at me like that? Midoriya's hand shook slightly as he reached for his glass of water, trying to steady himself. He kept his eyes on the table, but he could feel Bakugo's gaze still locked on him, intense and unwavering. Every so often, he would glance up from his food, only to meet Bakugo's eyes again. It was like Bakugo was waiting for something, but what? The tension between them was obvious, making the air feel thick. Midoriya tried to swallow the growing lump in his throat, but the warmth spreading across his face was undeniable. His mind kept wandering back to the kiss from last night, the unexpected softness of it, the way Bakugo had pulled away so quickly, as if he hadn't meant for it to happen, but the lingering feeling on his cheek. Midoriya couldn't shake it. The ball was tomorrow, and the pressure to ask someone to go with him was building. He hadn't even thought about it until now, too caught up in the chaos of everything that had happened between him and Bakugo. But now, sitting here, with Bakugo's gaze still heavy on him, it suddenly hit him. I haven't asked anyone, but I don't know if I want to ask anyone else. His stomach twisted with the realization, and he swallowed hard. Was he really starting to develop feelings for Bakugo? Feelings that had been buried deep within him, growing and evolving without him fully understanding them. He tried to shake off the thought, but it stuck, gnawing at him. Hey, Izuku, you okay? Her voice snapped him out of his thoughts. She was sitting beside him, looking at him with concern, her spoon halfway to her mouth. Yeah, I'm fine, Uraraka. Midoriya forced a smile, but it was weak. He could feel his face burning. The last thing he needed was someone to notice his unease. Uraraka raised an eyebrow, but before she could ask further, Bakugo suddenly stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. Midoriya's heart skipped a beat as the other students quieted, watching Bakugo's every move. The blonde boy seemed indifferent to the attention, his eyes still trained on Midoriya. Get your head out of your ass, Deku. Bakugo stormed past him on his way out of the cafeteria. Midoriya flinched at the harsh words, though there was something softer about them, something he couldn't quite place. He turned to watch Bakugo leave, his chest tight. Was that his way of trying to get my attention? He shook his head quickly, trying to clear the thoughts that were flooding his mind. No, he couldn't be thinking like that. But as his gaze lingered on Bakugo's retreating figure, the weight of everything hit him. The soft kiss, the way Bakugo had been looking at him, the way his heart skipped whenever they were close, it wasn't just some passing feeling. It was real. I think I might be falling for him. Midoriya's breath caught in his throat, and he could feel the heat creeping up his neck again. His heart was racing, and he felt a strange mix of excitement and fear. What was he supposed to do with these feelings? And what if Bakugo didn't feel the same? It's too complicated. The ball was tomorrow, and everything felt so uncertain now. What was he supposed to do? The night had fallen over UA, and the dorms were filled with the usual buzz of activity as students prepared for the upcoming Christmas ball. However, for Midoriya, things felt anything but typical. As the clock ticked closer to bedtime, he found himself caught in an intense whirlwind of emotions that he couldn't seem to shake. He had just finished dinner with his classmates and was heading back to his room when he noticed a shift in the air. Shinso, normally laid back and quiet, was leaning casually against the wall outside the dorms, watching him with an unreadable expression. Todoroki, too, had been oddly close all night, his usual cool demeanor replaced by something more, lingering. "Hey, Midoriya," Shinso's voice soft but laden with something that made the hairs on the back of Midoriya's neck stand on end. "How about a little chat before bed?" Midoriya blinked, confused, but nodded. "Sure, Shinso, what's up?" Shinso stepped a little closer, his eyes never leaving Midoriya's, and before Midoriya could respond, Todoroki appeared beside him, silently joining the scene. Midoriya's heart fluttered nervously. The tension in the air was undeniable, and he couldn't quite place what was going on. "Everything all right, Todoroki?" Midoriya's voice sounded weaker than usual, a bit breathless, even to his own ears. Todoroki didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stepped forward, closing the distance between them in a way that made Midoriya feel a little trapped. Midoriya took a small step back instinctively, his heartbeat quickening. "Midoriya, I've been wanting to talk to you. I don't think I've had a chance to really get to know you." The warmth of his words and the closeness of his presence made Midoriya's breath hitch, and he could feel the heat rising in his cheeks. But before he could respond, Shinso placed a hand lightly on his shoulder, his touch light but firm, as if claiming him. "Yeah, we've both been meaning to spend more time with you." Shinso's tone was smooth and almost teasing. He leaned in closer, brushing against Midoriya's arm in a way that sent a jolt through him. The tension was thick, almost suffocating, and Midoriya couldn't help but notice how close both Shinso and Todoroki were, their proximity almost overwhelming. His mind was racing, and yet, despite the intensity of the moment, someone, was missing from this picture. Just as the situation began to feel too much for him to handle, the door to his room burst open with a force that made everyone turn. Bakugo stood there, his eyes flashing with a mixture of anger and something far more intense. He had been waiting outside, watching. He had seen everything, and now, he was done standing by. "Get the hell away from him." Before anyone could react, Bakugo grabbed Midoriya by the wrist and yanked him into the hallway, dragging him forcefully but not unkindly. Midoriya stumbled slightly, completely caught off guard by the sudden movement. His heart was pounding, half from the tension with Shinso and Todoroki, and half from the overwhelming heat of Bakugo's grip. Bakugo didn't utter a single word as he led them quickly down the hall, the sound of their footsteps echoing sharply through the empty dormitory. When they reached a shadowed corner, Bakugo spun Midoriya around and shoved him against the wall, pinning him there with an intensity that stole the breath from his lungs. Before Midoriya could process what was happening, Bakugo's lips crashed into his, a raw, searing heat that overwhelmed every sense. The kiss was fierce, filled with frustration and something deeper, something neither of them dared to name. Midoriya's eyes widened in shock, his hands instinctively pressing against Bakugo's chest, but they faltered, unsure whether to push him away or pull him closer. Then Bakugo's tongue brushed against Midoriya's lips, demanding entry. A shocked gasp escaped Midoriya, and Bakugo seized the opportunity, his tongue sliding in with a hunger that sent sparks shooting down Midoriya's spine. The kiss deepened, a clash of heat and desperation that left no room for thought, only the electric sensation of Bakugo's tongue exploring, teasing, and claiming. Midoriya's knees buckled slightly under the intensity, his fingers curling into Bakugo's shirt for support. Every nerve in his body was alive, his pulse thundering in his ears as he let himself be consumed by the kiss. When Bakugo finally pulled back, both of them were gasping for air. Midoriya's chest heaved, his face flushed as he stared at Bakugo with wide, dazed eyes. Bakugo's lips were slightly swollen, his breaths ragged, and his gaze was feral, possessive and smoldering as it locked onto Midoriya. "Don't let them get to you, Izuku," Bakugo muttered under his breath, his voice rough. "Ka-chan, you're mine, got it?" Midoriya didn't answer immediately. He was still trying to process everything that had just happened, the kiss, the intensity, the emotions flooding his chest. But as he looked at Bakugo, standing there in front of him, eyes burning with something both familiar and new, Midoriya felt his heart race again, this time for a completely different reason. All he could do was nod, his voice failing him for a moment. I understand, Ka-chan." Bakugo gave him a sharp, almost satisfied nod, and with one last glance, he turned and walked back to his room, leaving Midoriya standing there, his body still buzzing from the kiss. The hallway felt empty and cold again, but inside, Midoriya's thoughts were a whirlwind. What did this mean now? Midoriya stood in the hallway for a few moments, his body still trembling from the intensity of the kiss, and the overwhelming emotions that had surged through him. He pressed his back against the wall, trying to steady his breathing as he replayed the scene in his mind. Bakugo had kissed him, possessive and passionate, and now things felt different. What does this mean? He couldn't quite wrap his mind around it. His heart was still racing, and his head was spinning with confusion, but somewhere in the chaotic mess of emotions, there was a flicker of something else, something warm, something that made him feel like maybe, just maybe, Bakugo actually cared. But did he? The hallway felt so quiet now, the noise of the dorms distant and muffled. Midoriya took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. Focus. You need to focus, Deku. The kiss had shaken him, but he couldn't let it throw him off completely. He had to figure out what was going on. Did Ka-chan kiss me because he's jealous? Or was it something more? He was still lost in his thoughts when he heard the sound of footsteps approaching. He quickly wiped at his face, realizing he'd been holding his breath the entire time. To his surprise, Todoroki stepped out of the dark hallway, his usual calm expression now softened by concern. "Midoriya, are you okay?" Midoriya blinked, trying to snap out of his daze. "Why yeah, I'm fine, Todoroki. Just thinking." Todoroki raised an eyebrow, clearly not buying it. "You're sure? You don't look fine." Midoriya forced a small smile, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "I'm fine, really." Todoroki didn't seem convinced, but he nodded and stepped back, moving aside to let Midoriya pass. Midoriya lingered for a second, his heart still pounding in his chest, before stepping inside his room. The door clicked shut behind him, but the heavy feeling in his chest remained. He sat on his bed, rubbing his temples in frustration. What is going on? Why does this feel so complicated? The sound of a knock at the door pulled him out of his thoughts. Before he could answer, the door creaked open slightly, and Bakugo's head popped in, his gaze intense but not as angry as it had been earlier. His expression softened just a bit when he saw Midoriya sitting there, still looking like a storm was brewing inside his head. "What's up, Deku?" Bakugo's voice was rough, but there was an underlying softness to it now, almost like he was trying to reach Midoriya. Midoriya opened his mouth to respond, but his mind raced, and he couldn't find the right words. Why does it feel like everything is about to change? He could feel Bakugo's eyes on him, waiting for an answer. Finally, Midoriya exhaled and looked up at him, his voice quieter than he intended. "Ka-chan, why did you do that?" His gaze flickering down for a moment before meeting Bakugo's eyes again. Bakugo seemed to hesitate for a moment, his usual confidence faltering slightly. "Do what, nerd?" he shot back, his tone a little more defensive than usual, but there was a hint of vulnerability buried beneath it. "The kiss," Midoriya whispered, his chest tight. "Why did you kiss me? Was it just because you were jealous?" Bakugo stiffened, his face flushing slightly, but he didn't back down. "It's none of your damn business. Just don't think too much about it. You're not gonna start acting all weird now, are you?" Midoriya felt his heart flutter at the words, but there was still that knot of confusion. Bakugo was clearly trying to deflect, but his eyes, those amber eyes, betrayed him. They were searching, softer than usual, almost like he was waiting for something. Midoriya took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the question hanging between them. "Ka-chan, what are we doing?" What does all of this mean? For a moment, Bakugo didn't answer. He just stood there, looking at Midoriya with that same, intense stare. Then, without saying another word, Bakugo stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. He walked over to Midoriya's bed and, for a moment, they just stood there, inches apart. I don't know. I don't want anyone else touching you, okay? Midoriya's heart skipped a beat, and his breath caught in his throat. Bakugo's words were so blunt, yet they carried a weight that made Midoriya's chest tighten. Could this be? Before he could respond, Bakugo leaned forward, closing the space between them, his lips pressing against Midoriya's forehead in a gentle kiss. It was soft, almost hesitant, but it lingered for a moment before Bakugo pulled away, his gaze softening. I'm not good with this shit, Deku, Bakugo confessed quietly. But don't ever think I don't care. Got it? Midoriya nodded slowly, his heart fluttering in his chest. For the first time in a long while, he felt like things were starting to make sense. Maybe, just maybe, they were finally on the same page. But deep down, he couldn't help but wonder, where would this lead them? What was next for them? Bakugo took a deep breath, his hands clenched at his sides as if he was battling with himself over what to say next. His amber eyes were locked on Midoriya, a mix of frustration and vulnerability flickering in his gaze. Look, Bakugo began, his voice quieter than usual, I don't do this kind of thing, okay? It's not easy for me. He paused, his brows furrowed. But the ball's tomorrow, and I want you to go with me as my date. Midoriya's eyes widened, his breath catching in his throat. He hadn't expected those words, not from Bakugo, of all people. His heart raced, a mix of emotions flooding through him, surprise, nervousness, and a strange, undeniable happiness. Ka-chan, are you serious? He stammered, his face already heating up. Bakugo scowled, though it was clear he was more embarrassed than angry. Do I look like I'm joking, Izuku? He snapped, but his tone lacked its usual edge. He looked away for a moment, running a hand through his hair. Look, I know I'm not good at this kind of crap, but I don't want anyone else going with you. It has to be me. Midoriya's heart felt like it might burst. His mind raced, trying to process everything. Kachan wants to go to the ball with me. He bit his lip, his thoughts swirling. I don't know what to say, he admitted softly, his voice trembling. Bakugo's eyes snapped back to him, his gaze intense. Say yes, Deku, he muttered, stepping closer. His voice softened, barely above a whisper. Please. The vulnerability in Bakugo's voice made Midoriya's chest tighten. He had never seen Kachan like this before, open, honest, and almost nervous. It was a side of him that Midoriya didn't even know existed, and it made his own feelings even more overwhelming. Yes, Midoriya finally said, his voice barely audible but steady. He looked up at Bakugo, a small, shy smile spreading across his face. I'll go with you, Kachan. For a moment, Bakugo just stared at him, as if he couldn't quite believe what he'd heard. Then, his lips quirked into a small, almost imperceptible smirk. Good, he said gruffly, his tone regaining a bit of its usual confidence. 'Cause I wasn't gonna let anyone else have you anyway. Midoriya's face flushed even deeper at the possessiveness in Bakugo's words, but there was no mistaking the warmth that spread through his chest. Bakugo straightened, his usual demeanor slowly returning. Get some sleep, nerd, he muttered, heading for the door. But just before he left, he turned back, his gaze lingering on Midoriya. And don't you dare think about backing out. I won't, Midoriya promised, his smile widening as he watched Bakugo leave. As the door clicked shut, Midoriya collapsed onto his bed, his heart pounding in his chest. He pressed his hands to his cheeks, which were still burning. Kachan asked me to the ball. The thought made him giddy, and for the first time in days, he felt like everything was finally falling into place. In the morning sunlight crept through the curtains as Midoriya stirred, still half asleep. He barely had time to sit up when the door to his room slammed open with a resounding bang. Kachan. Midoriya's voice was groggy and startled as Bakugo stomped into the room without hesitation. Before he could fully process what was happening, Bakugo was already at his bedside, grabbing him by the front of his sleep shirt and yanking him forward. Midoriya barely managed a squeak before Bakugo leaned in and kissed him, quick, firm, and with zero warning. It wasn't soft or tentative. It was pure, unfiltered Bakugo. The kiss was over almost as quickly as it started, leaving Midoriya wide-eyed and stunned, his lips tingling. Bakugo pulled back, his crimson eyes locked on Midoriya, his face set in a scowl like he'd just been forced to do something embarrassing. "Morning, nerd," he muttered, his voice low and gruff, like he wasn't entirely sure why he'd done it either. "K-Kachan, what was that?" Midoriya spluttered, his face turning scarlet. His hands instinctively clutched his blanket as his heart hammered in his chest. "TCH." Bakugo clicked his tongue, his own face faintly pink as he glared at the wall instead of Midoriya. "What do you think it was, idiot? You looked like a clueless mess yesterday, so I figured I'd make things clear. That's all." Midoriya's mouth opened and closed as he tried to come up with something to say. "See clear? About what?" Bakugo shot him a sharp look. "Don't make me spell it out, Deku. Just don't do anything stupid, got it?" Before Midoriya could respond, Bakugo released his grip and stood up, shoving his hands into his pockets. He turned for the door, his steps brisk and heavy. "Hurry up and get dressed. You're not skipping breakfast." He then slammed the door behind him. Midoriya sat there in stunned silence, his fingers brushing against his lips, as his face grew impossibly hotter. His mind raced, replaying the kiss and Bakugo's words over and over again. "Kachan," he whispered to himself, a flustered smile creeping across his face. He flopped back onto his bed, covering his face with his hands as his thoughts spiraled. What just happened? The dining area was alive with the clatter of plates and the hum of chatter as Class 1A gathered for breakfast. Midoriya entered the room a bit later than usual, his face still pink from the events of the morning. Bakugo was already seated, poking aggressively at his eggs like they'd insulted him, though his fiery eyes darted to Midoriya for the briefest of moments before he resumed his meal. "Morning, Deku," Uraraka greeted warmly, though her brow furrowed at his flustered expression. "You okay? You look distracted." Midoriya waved his hands in front of him, a nervous laugh escaping. "I'm fine, just didn't sleep well." From across the table, Mina's eyes narrowed, her nose twitching like a bloodhound catching a scent. She hummed suspiciously, leaning over toward Midoriya. "You sure you're not hiding something juicy, Deku? You look suspiciously flustered." Midoriya flailed, nearly knocking over his glass of juice. "And no, nothing's going on." "Oh, there's definitely something. I can smell drama from a mile away." Kirishima, chewing on toast, glanced between Bakugo and Midoriya. "Wait, did something happen between you two?" he asked, pointing his toast at them. "You've been acting kinda weird lately." "Mind your own business, shitty hair," Bakugo talked back, not looking up from his plate but bristling visibly. The table fell silent for a beat, and then all at once, the room erupted in a mix of laughter and teasing. "Oh my god, something definitely happened." "Nothing. Spill it, you two." His Kachan's been staring daggers at Midoriya all morning. If looks could kill, Deku'd be toast by now. "He always looks like that," Midoriya mumbled, trying to shrink into his chair. Can't call him Kachan, now since it's too awkward." Mina wagged her eyebrows. "That's cute. So, Deku, who's your date for the ball tomorrow? Or should I say, me?" Bakugo's sharp voice cut through the chaos like a whip. He casually leaned back in his chair, folding his arms with a smug smirk. "I'm going with him." The table froze. The room was so silent you could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Then, all at once, it erupted into a chaos. "What? Are you serious?" Kaminari nearly choked on his bacon, his wide eyes flicking between Bakugo and Midoriya. Midoriya looked like he wanted to sink into the floor, his face as red as Bakugo's eyes. "Kachan, what?" Bakugo said with a shrug, his tone as casual as if he'd announced the weather. "You got a problem with that, Pikachu? You're kidding, right?" Mina gasped, her jaw dropping. "Since when are you two? I mean, are you even a thing?" "We're not," Midoriya yelped, waving his hands frantically. "I mean, he's, Bakugo shot him a glare. "Izuku, shut up before you make it worse." "Izuku, really? Wow, first name basis in like a sweet type of way while the other one can't even say the other's name because it's obviously too awkward." "It's not like that, Uraraka-san." Wait, so you're going to the ball together? Like, as dates, or?" Bakugo rolled his eyes. "What the hell does it sound like, dumbass? That's so cute. Oh my gosh, I can't believe Bakugo's being all bold about it." "This is amazing." "Bold?" Kaminari snickered. "Dude, this is next level. Shinso, leaning against the wall with his coffee, raised an eyebrow. Didn't see this coming, but it explains the tension. Tension, yes, Todoroki, tension. You wouldn't get it. Midoriya buried his face in his hands, his voice muffled. This is so embarrassing. Bakugo, on the other hand, seemed completely unfazed by the chaos he'd caused. He stood up, grabbing his plate and turning toward the kitchen. You extras can keep gossiping. I've got better things to do. As he walked past Midoriya, he paused just long enough to mutter under his breath, don't be late for training later, nerd. Midoriya peeked out from between his fingers, his face still burning. He could only nod as Bakugo disappeared into the kitchen, leaving the table buzzing with speculation and laughter. Wow, I did not have Bakugo Deku drama on my bingo card for this semester, but I'm living for it. The moment Bakugo left the room, all hell broke loose at the breakfast table. Spill, Deku, Mina shrieked, nearly climbing over the table to get closer to him. How long has this been going on? Is this new? Is this secret? Oh my gosh, is this your coming out moment? Midoriya's eyes widened in panic. And no, it's not like that. Kachan and I aren't. Not what, exactly, not dating, not together, not making out after lights out. Making out. Midoriya sputtered, his voice going an octave higher as he waved his hands frantically. That's not. We haven't. There's nothing like that happening. Nothing yet, but the way he stares at you, Deku, it's only a matter of time. Yeah, seriously, did you see him at breakfast? Dude's got it bad. I don't think I've ever seen Bakugo look at someone like that without it involving explosions. For real though, it's kinda sweet, in a weird, scary, Bakugo way. Midoriya groaned, his face buried in his hands. It's not sweet, it's, Kachan's just, he's. Oh my god, Kaminari interrupted, pointing dramatically at him. Midoriya doesn't even know how to explain it. That's so suspicious. Are you blushing harder because you like him back? Stop, Midoriya wailed, his face as red as a tomato. Wait, Mina's holding up a hand like she was conducting a press conference. Let's get this straight. So, you're going to the ball with him, as his date. Did he ask you, or did you ask him? What, straight? They ain't straight. Ha 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 should be let's get this, gay, ha 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 ha. Midoriya hesitated, his eyes darting nervously to the table. Well, he, kind of, asked me. Kind of, what does kind of mean? Did he, or didn't he? It wasn't like a formal thing, Midoriya mumbled, his fingers fidgeting with the edge of his napkin. He just said I was going with him, and I didn't say no. Classic Kachan. Ha 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 doesn't even ask, just tells you you're his date. That's so him, but you didn't say no. That's basically the same as saying yes. Ooh, this is adorable. It's not. He's just. Midoriya trailed off, completely flustered, and groaned in defeat. Why is everyone making such a big deal about this? Because it's a huge deal. Mina proceeds to shake his shoulder enthusiastically. Bakugo doesn't let anyone get close to him, and now he's claiming you as his date. That's groundbreaking. Yeah, it's like seeing a unicorn. Except the unicorn is yelling and threatening to blow up anyone who looks at you funny. Wait, real question, do you think Bakugo's gonna dress up all fancy for the ball? Like, can you imagine him in a tux? Would he even wear one? Kirishima grinned. He'd probably refuse at first, but then Deku would ask, and he'd grumble about it before secretly going all out to impress him. Midoriya groaned louder, slumping in his seat as everyone erupted into laughter and chaos around him. Uraraka, who had been silently observing with a knowing smile, finally joined in. You should just embrace it, Midoriya. It's clear Bakugo cares about you. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked you like that. Midoriya looked up at her, his eyes softening at her supportive tone, but before he could respond, Mina jumped in again. Okay, but what about the ball itself? What about it? What if he tries to kiss you on the dance floor? Midoriya choked on air, waving his hands frantically. That's not going to happen. Oh, I'm betting it will. Kachan's not the type to hold back, especially if someone else tries to cut in. Yeah, like Todoroki. Ha 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 he's gonna be yelling, half and half. What are you doing? From 10 miles away. Please stop. Midoriya covered his face, but the teasing only grew louder as everyone piled on more ridiculous scenarios. As the laughter and teasing reached a crescendo, Shinso casually strolled into the dining area, still looking groggy but clearly intrigued by the chaos. He grabbed a cup of coffee from the counter and leaned against the wall, watching the scene unfold with a smirk. Alright, what's all the yelling about this time? His voice laced with dry amusement. Shinso, you're just in time. Did you hear? Midoriya's going to the ball with Bakugo. Shinso raised an eyebrow, his interest clearly piqued. Wait, Bakugo, you're joking, right? Nope, it's real. Bakugo apparently claimed him as his date in his typical boom boom style, and Deku didn't even argue. Midoriya groaned, his face still buried in his hands. See, can everyone please stop making it sound like that? Shinso's smirk widened as he sauntered closer to the table. Wow, Midoriya, you've got guts letting someone like Bakugo take the lead. I would have thought you'd prefer someone a little quieter. His tone was teasing but held an edge of curiosity. Mina gasped dramatically, pointing an accusatory finger at Shinso. Hold on, are you saying you'd be a better option for Deku? Shinso chuckled, setting his coffee down on the table. I'm just saying, if I were his date, I wouldn't go around yelling at people or blowing things up. Ha 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 ha, dude, you'd be in for it if Bakugo heard that. He'd probably drag you into a sparring match on the spot, or just glare you into oblivion. Either way, it'd be hilarious. Midoriya, now fully red in the face, tried to wave off the growing chaos. Shinso, don't say things like that, it's not like that with Kachan and me. Not like that, Shinso gave Midoriya a sly look. So what is it like then? Purely platonic, just good friends.
Two best friends in a room, they might kiss. Yes, we will. What?
The tea's so hot I needed to fetch Uraraka from her deathbed. Bruh, deathbed is insane, ha 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 ha. Well, best friends wouldn't go as far as yelling at someone just because they talked to your friend. Shinso, you're not helping. Oh, I'm helping. I'm helping make this a lot more entertaining. Uraraka giggled from her seat. Poor Midoriya, he's never going to survive breakfast at this rate. Or the ball. Can you imagine if Bakugo gets jealous mid-dance? Especially if someone, oh, I don't know, Shinso, decided to cut in. Shinso raised both hands innocently, though his smirk betrayed his amusement. Hey, I'm just here for the drama. No promises if I see an opening. Why does this always happen to me? Because it's fun, and because you're easy to fluster. Don't worry, Midoriya, if Bakugo ever gets too much, you know where to find me. Shinso. A Christmas party was in full swing. The entire campus felt alive with laughter, music, and the jingling of decorations. The gymnasium was transformed into a festive wonderland. Strings of twinkling lights crisscrossed overhead, a giant Christmas tree sparkled in the corner, and tables were stacked with holiday treats. Students from all classes mingled, their competitive spirits on display as various games were announced. Alright, listen up, we've got a whole lineup of games tonight, so grab your friends and get ready for some holiday mayhem. Midoriya was practically glowing with excitement. This is so much fun. Everyone's in such high spirits. Yeah, especially you, Bakugo muttered under his breath, standing off to the side with his arms crossed. His crimson gaze flickered to Midoriya, who was already being pulled into a team huddle by Todoroki and Shinso. The first game was a relay race, followed by a trivia quiz and a holiday-themed obstacle course. To Bakugo's growing irritation, the random team assignments never placed him with Midoriya. Instead, Midoriya seemed to be paired with Shinso and Todoroki far too often. Deku, over here, Shinso called during the trivia game, his hand brushing Midoriya's shoulder as he pulled him closer to their team's whiteboard. Bakugo's eye twitched. TCH, what's so great about mind control freak? He earned a glance from Kirishima. You alright, man, you seem tense. I'm fine, Bakugo snapped, though his glare was fixed on the way Todoroki leaned down to whisper something to Midoriya, making him laugh. 6:45 p.m. During the charades game, Midoriya found himself paired with Monoma. The blonde from Class 1B wasted no time positioning himself as close as possible, flashing Midoriya his most charming smile. Don't worry, Midoriya, we're a perfect team, just follow my lead. Midoriya laughed awkwardly, rubbing the back of his neck. Sure, Monoma-kun. Let's do our best. Across the room, Bakugo glared daggers. His fists twitched, tiny explosions crackling faintly as he watched Monoma lean in to whisper to Midoriya. Kirishima, sensing a storm brewing, placed a hand on Bakugo's shoulder. Dude, calm down, it's just a game, shut up, hair, Bakugo snapped, his gaze never leaving the pair. That damn extra is too close to him. Kirishima sighed, shaking his head. You're gonna blow a fuse, man. Bakugo didn't respond. Instead, he stormed out of the gym, muttering under his breath. 7:15 p.m. After excusing himself to grab some water, Midoriya was intercepted by Bakugo in the hallway. Before he could react, Bakugo grabbed him by the wrist and dragged him into an empty classroom. The door slammed shut behind them, and Midoriya was pressed up against it, his breath caught in his throat. Keika-chan, what's going on? Midoriya's voice trembled with confusion and a hint of anxiety. Bakugo didn't respond with words.
It's Vito, baby.
Rock me, baby.
Well, how do you like it?
Yeah. Honestly, I can tell that you're frustrated. Been a minute since you dated. Oh, you don't know who to get that to. If he fucking with you or just fucking you. Trust me, I'm focused. You need to come, girl, I've noticed. You got a mouth with your mean ass. Sometimes you can act like
Midoriya's eyes fluttered open, his breath ragged. Keika-chan, he whispered, his chest rising and falling with the effort to steady himself.
THC, long dick and Hennessy, yeah that's me. Don't be afraid to speak your mind. Let me know, let me know. I know girls can never say they want it. Girls can never say no. Shawty, just tell me you want it. Baby, just let that shit out. Yeah, here you go. Mid conversation, you hang up the phone. You talk shit, but I know what you want, girl. You just need some shit. You just need some love.
7:50 p.m. As the games wrapped up, Present Mike took the microphone. Alright, folks, that's it for the Christmas games. Hope you all had a blast because now it's time to get fancy. You've got an hour to head back to your dorms, change into your formal attire, and make your way to the ballroom for the Christmas ball. Excited chatter broke out among the students as they began to file out of the gym. Midoriya, still flushed from Bakugo's earlier kiss, found himself flanked by Todoroki and Shinso. The two were unusually clingy, their casual touches making Midoriya squirm. You look like you were having fun tonight, Todoroki said, his tone calm but his hand lingering a little too long on Midoriya's shoulder. I guess I was. The games were great. You're good at charades, Shinso's violet eyes sharp as he smirked. Monoma's lucky he got you as a teammate. Ah, it's nothing special. Anyone could've. Deku. Bakugo's voice cut through the hallway, sharp and commanding. The trio turned to see him standing with his arms crossed, his expression dark. Midoriya gulped. Keika-chan, we're leaving. Bakugo's tone was brooking no argument. Todoroki raised an eyebrow. Leaving? I thought we were just heading to the dorms. We are, but not with you two glued to him. Shinso smirked, clearly enjoying Bakugo's jealousy. Touchy, aren't we? Bakugo's glare was answer enough. Back at the dorms, in the dorm common area, the girls were buzzing as they discussed their outfits for the ball. Racks of elegant gowns and suits had been delivered to their rooms, courtesy of UA. Did you see the dress I picked? Mina twirled dramatically, holding up a glittering pink gown. I'm gonna shine like a star. Should I go for this red one or the blue one? Uraraka is still sniffling slightly from her lingering cold. I say red, it's bold and festive. They both looked at Jiro, who's already looking both pretty and cool with her black gown. You're bonita.
I feel bonita.
Wonderful, because you look bonita.
Meanwhile, Bakugo lingered near the doorway, his gaze locked on Midoriya, who was sorting through his own selection of formalwear. As the clock ticked closer to 9 p.m., the students scattered to their rooms to prepare. Bakugo, however, wasn't done staking his claim. As Midoriya reached his room, Bakugo leaned against the doorframe, smirking. Don't take too long, nerd. You've got a date with me tonight. Midoriya's heart skipped a beat, his face flushing. Why yeah, Kachan, I'll be ready. With that, Bakugo sauntered off, leaving Midoriya to process the whirlwind of emotions before the ball began. The ball. The moment the clock struck 9 p.m., the doors to the grand ballroom of UA opened, revealing an elegant, sparkling space filled with soft golden lights that danced off the high ceilings. Snowflakes fluttered gently outside the windows, adding to the winter wonderland atmosphere. The large tree at the center of the room was decorated with twinkling lights, shimmering silver tinsel, and delicate ornaments. Soft, classical music played in the background, creating an air of sophistication. Students from all across UA filled the room, dressed in their finest. The boys of Class 1A, still a little stiff from the formality of their attire, stood together at one corner, all with their distinct styles but equally looking sharp. Bakugo's tuxedo was crisp, his tie slightly askew in defiance of any formal rules. Todoroki looked effortlessly cool in a dark suit with a sharp-cut jacket, while Shinso, who was leaning casually against the wall, wore a black suit with a collar that gave him a mysterious air. Midoriya, dressed in a fitted dark green suit, felt his nerves bubbling up as he entered the ballroom. His tie was a bit too tight, and the polished shoes made him feel slightly out of place compared to his usual attire. He scanned the room, his heart racing, and found his classmates scattered around, mingling and chatting. He hadn't even noticed Bakugo standing at the door, arms crossed, watching him with a narrowed gaze. His presence was intimidating as always, and Midoriya couldn't help but feel the familiar rush of anxiety, mixed with excitement as he caught Bakugo's stare. "What are you staring at, nerd?" Bakugo's tone a little sharper than usual. His eyes, however, softened as they briefly met Midoriya's, and for a moment, there was a flicker of something deeper in his gaze. Midoriya's heart skipped a beat. Nothing. He scratched the back of his head. Bakugo rolled his eyes and stepped forward, standing beside him. "Quit acting so damn nervous. We're here to have fun." Before Midoriya could reply, the announcement over the speakers rang out, cutting through the tension. "Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the UA Christmas Ball. We're thrilled to have all of you here tonight. We have plenty of food, music, and of course, fun activities planned. So enjoy yourselves and make the most of this magical night." The crowd erupted in cheers, and the music transitioned into a livelier tune, signaling the start of the evening's festivities. Couples began to pair off, some taking to the dance floor, while others moved to the tables, laughing and chatting over drinks. Bakugo gave Midoriya a sideways glance. "You're not ditching me tonight, right?" The question hanging heavy between them. Midoriya felt his stomach flutter. "No, of course not. I'm with you, Kachan." But even as he said it, Midoriya could feel a pull in different directions, as Shinso, Todoroki, and even Monoma approached, all with knowing smirks on their faces. The night was just beginning, and with every step he took, Midoriya could sense the growing tension that wasn't just about the ball or the festive atmosphere. No, this was something deeper, something that neither he nor Bakugo had quite come to terms with yet. As the night unfolded, the music swirled around them, laughter filling the air, and students started to let loose, finally relaxing in the elegance of the event. For Midoriya, though, his eyes kept returning to the one person who held his attention completely. And Bakugo, his eyes never strayed far from Midoriya, though he hid it behind the familiar scowl, not willing to admit just how much the night, and the person standing beside him, meant. Everyone was enjoying the ball. Yet, for Midoriya, the night felt anything but calm. Despite the lively energy around him, his attention kept drifting to one person, Katsuki. The more Midoriya tried to enjoy himself,
Talking with the ladies, baby, you just need a thought. You just need some head in the shower, or maybe back to the shower. I love it when you open it up, had it looking like a flower. Hey, you need some love. Hey,
it was just Kachan being his usual, reckless self, right? "You good, Deku?" Bakugo's voice cut through Midoriya's spiraling thoughts, snapping him back to the present. He looked up and locked eyes with the blonde, whose gaze was intense and unreadable. "Why yeah, I'm fine, just, having fun, you know." Midoriya's flushed face wasn't too obvious. Bakugo's lips curled up into something that almost resembled a smirk. "Sure you are, nerd. But you're acting weird. Stop spacing out." Midoriya's breath caught. He was spacing out, but it wasn't because of the party. It was because of Bakugo.
you need to be see a nigga texting you. Leave me on red like I wasn't just with you. But
You're acting like you've never been this close to me before, Bakugo muttered under his breath, a teasing edge to his tone that only made Midoriya's heart race even faster. It's not that, it's just, a lot of people here, you know.
When I do it to you, a nigga only do it cause I know we get to you. Yeah. Look at you trying to start a fight.
I don't care about any of that.
Can't
Stop
even
acting
like
like
a
you don't
picture
feel
that
this
you're
too.
gonna feel.
Midoriya's chest tightened,
Baby,
the
do
tension between them was
better.
suffocating, and
Let
Midoriya
me
wasn't
get
sure if
you
he could handle it anymore.
together. Turn off your phone, I'll use my tongue, I'll eat it all night long. When I go
But just as
deep,
the
I
tension reached
slow-
its peak, a voice called out, and Bakugo's attention shifted. Katsuki. The voice was unmistakable. It was the girl from the other class he had been talking to earlier. Bakugo's jaw tightened, his hand slipping away from Midoriya's back as he glanced toward the source of the call. I've got to go, Bakugo muttered, his eyes lingering on Midoriya for a moment longer than necessary. Without saying another word, he turned and walked away, heading toward the girl. Midoriya stood there, his breath still shaky, the heat from Bakugo's touch lingering on his skin. His chest was tight, and he couldn't help but feel a knot of jealousy twist in his stomach. Why did it feel like Bakugo was pulling away from him after everything? He thought they were getting somewhere, getting closer, but now, it felt like Bakugo was just moving on. Trying to shake off the heavy feeling in his chest, Midoriya wandered through the crowd, his thoughts still clouded with everything that had just happened. He told himself to relax, to enjoy the party, but his mind kept returning to Bakugo, the way his touch had set his body on fire, the way his presence always seemed to make everything feel more intense. But when he finally caught sight of Bakugo again, the blonde was deep in conversation with the girl, his posture relaxed, as if he hadn't just left Midoriya with an ocean of unspoken emotions. The sight sent a pang of disappointment through Midoriya's chest, and he realized just how much he was feeling, more than he'd ever want to admit. It wasn't just about the party. It wasn't just about the ball or the decorations or the music. It was Bakugo. It always had been. Midoriya had never been good at hiding his feelings, and now it seemed like he couldn't escape them, no matter how hard he tried. Amidst all the excitement, Midoriya couldn't help but feel the subtle ache in his chest. His eyes kept flicking toward Bakugo, but Bakugo wasn't looking at him. After everything that had happened between them, those heated moments, the passionate kisses, something about tonight felt off. As if they were drifting apart when Midoriya had hoped the night would bring them closer. Deku. Uraraka's voice snapped him out of his thoughts. She waved enthusiastically from the girls' table. Come join us. Grateful for the distraction, Midoriya smiled and walked over to them, hoping to shake off the confusion swirling in his mind. Ooh, so you're escaping Bakugo's watchful eye? Mina grinned, wiggling her eyebrows. Midoriya's face flushed a deep shade of red, and he immediately looked away. It's not like that, we're just hanging out, you know. Momo, with a knowing smile, leaned forward. But you two have been acting strange tonight, haven't you? Something feels different. I don't know what you mean. Midoriya laughed nervously, his eyes glancing around the room, but once again, his gaze went straight to Bakugo. We're just friends. The girls exchanged teasing glances, but Midoriya couldn't focus on their words anymore. His attention was still stuck on Bakugo, who had somehow disappeared from his view. The night felt incomplete without him. Meanwhile, Bakugo stood on the edge of the ballroom, his eyes scanning the crowd. He had been looking for Izuku for what felt like forever. He'd seen him briefly with the girls, but now, he was nowhere to be found. Bakugo's frustration grew with each passing moment. Why was Izuku avoiding him? He could feel a familiar pang of jealousy building inside him. The damn greenette had been acting so distant tonight. After another minute of frustration, Bakugo finally decided he couldn't just stand there anymore. He had to find Izuku, no matter what. It didn't take long for Bakugo to find him, but the sight that greeted him didn't make him feel any better. Outside the building, Midoriya was leaning against a pillar, talking to Shinso, a bottle of something alcoholic in his hand. Midoriya's cheeks were flushed, and his words came out in slurred bursts. I told you, man, I'm not an expert on relationships. Midoriya laughed awkwardly, not noticing his bottle was already empty. Shinso was grinning at him, clearly entertained by Midoriya's drunken state. When he saw Bakugo approach, he raised an eyebrow and casually nodded. Relax, man, we're just talking. The sight of Midoriya with Shinso made something dark stir in Bakugo's chest. Why wasn't Izuku inside, enjoying the ball with him? Why was he out here, laughing with Shinso? He could feel the heat of jealousy rise in his chest. His steps were purposeful, and before either of them could respond, he snapped, "Oi." Midoriya blinked and slowly turned to look at him, a goofy smile spreading across his face. "Kachan, what's up, you having fun at the ball?" Bakugo's glare turned to Shinso. "What the hell are you doing out here with him?" Shinso shrugged, looking far too amused for Bakugo's liking. "I'm just keeping him company. He's a little tipsy, thought he could use a break from the crowd." Bakugo's eyes snapped back to Izuku, whose stance was unsteady as he tried to stay upright. His fists clenched at his sides. "Izuku, what the hell do you think you're doing out here, huh?" His tone was harsh and demanding, laced with both anger and concern. Midoriya smiled sheepishly, a little tipsy but trying to play it cool. "I'm fine, Kachan, I just needed a break. I wasn't having much fun inside, and Shinso was just talking. It's not a big deal." But Bakugo wasn't having it. He yanked Midoriya's wrist and dragged him away from Shinso. Midoriya didn't protest, but the motion startled both of them. Without a second glance at Shinso, Bakugo marched forward, pulling Izuku toward the hallway.
Down just as I use my thumb. Shawty, I'm a real freaking nigga, yeah. Eat it good, make you wanna keep a nigga, yeah. Lock me down, police a nigga, yeah. It's okay to speak your mind, yeah. Oh, I know girls can never say they want it. Girls can never say no. Shawty, just tell me you want it. Baby, just shit out. Yeah, here you go. Mid-conversation, you hang up the phone. You talk, but I know what you want, girl. You just need some, you just need some love. Tired of lame niggas, baby, you just need a thought. You just need some head in the shower, or maybe hot to the shower. I love it when you open
As
it
if reading his
up.
mind, Bakugo's hand was on his wrist, pulling him away from the crowd. The pressure of his fingers felt like an anchor in the chaos, and Midoriya barely had time to process what was happening before Bakugo was dragging him through the hallways. Wait, Kachan, where are we going?" Midoriya stammered, but Bakugo just shot him a glance, sharp and determined, before pulling him toward the exit. "Somewhere quiet, I'm done," Bakugo muttered, glancing back toward the ballroom where the music was still blasting. Midoriya's pulse quickened as they stepped out into the cool night air, the noise of the ball muffling behind them as they made their way to Bakugo's dorm. In the quiet of the hallway, Bakugo led him to his room with a sense of urgency, his grip on Midoriya's wrist tightening slightly. The door to Bakugo's room slammed shut behind them, cutting off any lingering noise from the event. It was dimly lit, the scent of Bakugo's cologne, a mix of something spicy and masculine, immediately hitting Midoriya's senses. It filled the room like a blanket, enveloping him. All he could smell was Bakugo. The walls were lined with posters of past heroes, the cluttered desk beside the bed evidence of his usual chaotic energy, but what caught Midoriya's attention most was the tension in the air between them. It was thick with unspoken words and feelings neither had dared to voice until now. Before Midoriya could say anything, Bakugo closed the distance between them, his hands gripping Midoriya's shoulders, his gaze sharp and focused. "What's the matter with you?" Bakugo's voice was low. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Midoriya blinked, confusion and longing written all over his face. I don't know what you mean, Kachan, but, Shut up," Bakugo snapped, cutting him off, his hand moving to gently cup Midoriya's cheek. The softness of the touch contrasted sharply with his usual fiery impression. "I don't know how to say this, but I can't keep pretending I don't feel it. You think I'm gonna keep my distance? No, I've been wanting this for so long. For you." Midoriya's breath hitched, his eyes widening in shock. He didn't expect this, Bakugo, so blunt, so raw with his feelings. What are you saying, Kachan?" "I'm saying I want you, Deku." Bakugo's thumb brushed the skin of Midoriya's cheek, his voice rough with emotion. Not just because of some stupid kiss or because of the way you look at me. But because it's you. You're the one I'm crazy about. You always have been. The words hung in the air between them, and Midoriya felt like his heart might burst from the weight of them. He had always wondered if Bakugo felt anything beyond the usual rivalry, but hearing it, seeing the fire in his eyes, made it feel real. More real than anything he'd ever imagined. Do you mean it? Midoriya whispered, his voice trembling, his hands nervously fidgeting with the hem of his shirt. I've never felt this way about anyone else, Kachan. I want you to. I just. Good. Then be mine. I'm not asking for anything less. Let me be your boyfriend and stop acting like you don't know how much I want you. His hand slid down Midoriya's arms, gripping him tighter, almost like he was afraid Midoriya might slip away. Midoriya's heart fluttered wildly in his chest, his face a deep shade of crimson as he looked up into Bakugo's fierce, tender gaze. Yes, he breathed out, his voice barely a whisper. I want to be with you, Kachan.
She got married to a boy like you. She'd kick you out if she ever knew about all the you told me that you do. Dirty boy, you know everyone is talking on the scene. I hear them whispering about the places that you've been, and how you don't know how to keep your business clean. Drop the attic, give me love, give me Fendi, my Balenciaga daddy. You gon' need to bag it up, 'cause I'm spending on Rodeo. You can watch me back it up, I'll be gone in the AM. He got me Prada, got me Miu Miu like Rihanna. He always for me, 'cause he never touch me drama.
In the morning light filtered softly through the windows of Bakugo's room, illuminating the tangled mess of blankets strewn across the bed. Midoriya stirred first, his eyes fluttering open as he tried to orient himself. He mumbled, his groggy from sleep. Bakugo was already awake, his crimson eyes lazily watching Midoriya's every move. His lips curled into a smirk, and he tightened his hold around Midoriya's waist, pulling him closer. "Morning, Deku," he muttered, his voice rough and low, still laced with sleep. Midoriya blinked up at him, his cheeks instantly flushing as the memories of the night before flooded his mind. He buried his face in the nearest pillow, groaning softly. "Oh my god, Kachan, I can't believe." "What?" "Last night," Bakugo teased, shifting to hover over Midoriya slightly. His smirk deepened as he brushed a few stray curls away from Midoriya's forehead. "You were practicing by the end, nerd. Don't act all shy about it now." "Kachan," Midoriya squeaked, his face turning a deeper shade of red. Bakugo didn't give him a chance to respond. Kachan, we should get up. Everyone's probably wondering where we were last night. Let them wonder. Not like it's any of their business what we were doing. We have to go eventually." Bakugo pulled back just enough to meet Midoriya's flustered gaze, his smirk turning mischievous. "Kachan," Midoriya's voice cracked, his face burning with embarrassment. "Relax, nerd, I'm just messing with you, for now." Midoriya pouted, still red in the face but unable to stop the shy smile tugging at his lips. "You're impossible, and you're stuck with me," Bakugo shot back smugly, brushing his nose against Midoriya's before reluctantly rolling off of him. "Fine, let's go face the extras before they lose their damn minds." Midoriya sat up, trying to smooth out his messy hair and gather his courage. As they got dressed, Bakugo kept sneaking glances at him, his teasing smirk never fading. Midoriya could feel the heat of his gaze the entire time, making it almost impossible to focus. By the time they finally made it to the common area, Midoriya was already bracing himself for the onslaught of questions, and judging by Bakugo's smug expression, he was more than ready to let the chaos unfold. The dorm's common area was bustling with life, as it always was in the mornings. Sato was at the counter, pulling a tray of muffins out of the oven, while Ishido and Kaminari were bickering over the last pancake. Uraraka and Asui sat at the dining table, sipping tea, while Iida was lecturing Mineta about something indecent he'd said. Shinso, who had spent the night crashing in the common room after the ball, sat slouched on the couch, half awake and sipping coffee, his purple hair sticking out in every direction. That's when the door to the stairwell creaked open, and all eyes turned to see Bakugo and Midoriya stepping out together. The room froze. Ishido was the first to break the silence, her fork clattering onto her plate as she gasped dramatically. "No way." Midoriya's face immediately turned the color of a ripe tomato. It's not. Don't even try it, Midoriya." Kaminari cut him off, practically leaping over the couch to point at him accusingly. "You two disappeared last night, and now you're coming down together." Bakugo clicked his tongue, his hands shoved in his pockets as he glared around the room. "What's it to you, Sparky? Mind your own damn business." "Oh, this is definitely my business," Jiro said, leaning casually against the arm of the couch with her earbuds dangling. "You don't just vanish in the middle of the ball and reappear the next morning looking all smug." "I am not smug." "Oh, you are definitely smug, or at least Bakugo is." "Todoroki? Well, I'm just telling the truth, Midoriya. Smug or not, we want answers." "Answers to what? What the are you all so nosy for? It's not nosy. We're just concerned classmates who want to know if our favorite rivalry turned into a secret romance. That's absurd. You cannot simply jump to conclusions without substantial evidence. Kirishima, however, was grinning from ear to ear. Bro, you didn't even show up for breakfast. You're practically screaming, something happened. I swear to God, I'll blow all of you up, Bakugo growled, his palms already sparking. Meanwhile, Midoriya was slowly retreating, his face burning brighter by the second. It's not what you think. He stammered, holding his hands up defensively. Then what is it, Deku? It's probably exactly what it looks like, Shinso said dryly from the couch, not even looking up from his coffee. Bakugo finally lost his patience and kissed him or something. Kissed? Kaminari shouted, clutching his head in mock disbelief. Wait, is that true? Did Bakugo actually? Shut it, Pinky. Bakugo barked, his face growing redder by the second. Shinso raised an eyebrow at Bakugo's reaction, smirking slightly. Judging by that response, I'm guessing I hit the nail on the head. Kachan, Midoriya whispered, tugging on his sleeve, his voice pleading. I've had it, Bakugo snapped, slamming a palm against the wall to silence everyone. Yeah, fine, I kissed him, what of it? The room went dead silent, save for the faint sizzling of Bakugo's quirk sparking in his palms. Then Ashido screamed, I knew it, you finally told him, dude. That's awesome. Wait, told him what? Uraraka looked genuinely confused. That is, like, into him. Oh, Tsuyu croaked, her wide eyes blinking slowly. Mineta looked like he was about to say something crude, but Iida immediately grabbed him by the collar, dragging him out of the room. No inappropriate comments.
Like, same dick and cock. Like, I'm just like, oh my god. Time and place. And you did it at my birthday dinner.
Iida frustratedly, fully dragged Mineta out of the dorms. Meanwhile, Midoriya looked like he was about to collapse from embarrassment, hiding his face in his hands. Kachan, what? Bakugo grumbled, crossing his arms defensively. You wanted me to keep it a secret. They'd find out anyway. I didn't expect you to just yell it at everyone. Are you guys really dating? Why are we still yelling in this house? The harmonious married couple life cannot be found. Well, if my partner just yelled it out like that without considering my feelings, I'd be furious, too. Who asked? Grappaju, why are you even here? Wanna die? Kachan, stop being mean to Mineta. It's better this way. Now they don't have to keep sneaking around like lovesick idiots. Bakugo shot him a glare. I don't need your commentary, Sleeping Beauty. Oh, but we do. This is the most entertaining breakfast we've had in weeks. As the room dissolved into laughter and teasing, Midoriya sighed in defeat, burying his face in Bakugo's arm. The blonde tensed for a moment, then let out a low growl and placed a protective hand on Midoriya's back. Fine, laugh all you want. But if any of you idiots say something stupid, I'm blowing you to hell. Despite the chaos, Midoriya couldn't help but smile against Bakugo's shoulder. It was embarrassing, sure, but at least he wasn't alone in it. Oh, I thought you're blowing something else?
Congratulations, bitch. Like, we've been through it, and you fucking made it, girl. You made it. Congratulations, girl.
Bitch!
Membership on my channel is now open. Instead of using expensive and complicated Patreon, I've decided to post special videos exclusively for members here. You can join as a tea enjoyer for $0.99 United States cents or a VIP tea session for $3.99 United States cents. Prices may vary based on your location and inflation.
By the way, I'm running out of ways to thank you, so let me flip the script. What do you want next? A sequel, a parody, or should I just throw a dart at a random idea board and go wild with something new? And if you're curious about the deleted spicy tea madness, join my channel for just $3.99. It's cheaper than a fancy coffee and comes with bonus behind the closed doors drama. Love you all!
よしんじゃあ早速一曲歌ってみっか。いくぞせーの。でもそんなんじゃダメ、もうそんなんじゃほら心は進化するよもっともっと。テレテレテレテレテレテレテレテレテレテレパンパンテテテレテレテレテレテレ言葉にすれば消えちゃう関係なら言葉を消せばいいやって思ってた、恐れてた。